West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an issue.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
On this Thursday, April 10th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got an entire show planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this right here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Speaking of phone lines, I would like a very specific type of caller to call in this morning, because I need to understand, Bill. Help me understand how Jenna Griswold raises a record-setting $185,000 in the first 24 hours as Attorney General.
Wow. Jeez.
The single largest fundraising 24 hours in Colorado history.
Wow. I'm just
okay. That is
I don't got anything on this one. I'm just like,
that is why
what?
I need to call. But help me understand the appeal. Maybe it's just simply she's the most anti-Trump person out there, and she was willing to go all the way to the mat and fight at the U.S. Supreme Court. Ergo, she is the candidate we want to get behind. This is Colorado politics. Democrat Jenna Griswold, the Colorado Secretary of State, raised more than $185,000 in her first 24 hours as an announced candidate for Attorney General in next year's election. Her campaign said Tuesday the sum appears to be a record for single-day donations received by a state-level candidate since Colorado's current campaign finance system was established more than 20 years ago.
Wow. I wonder if any of that was sandbagged. Just curious. There's a thing when you're doing fundraisers in which there's a technique called sandbagging, and basically what you do is you go out and secure a whole bunch of checks before the event, and then on the day of the event you announce all the checks, and you're like, look at all the money we've raised, negating the fact that you've spent the previous 6 months doing all the hard work. So it wasn't necessarily because of that day, it just couldn't be announced nor donated on that day, or you hang on to it until that day. That's why you had Alice's 36 Hours for Kids, and now they're like one-day carathon thing they do for children's hospitals. Majority of that money is raised before the fact. It's not raised during the actual phone-a-thon. All those big, giant novelty checks that they show off, those are all secured before the event ever kicks off. Those are never donated during the event. Hardly. Well, I can say, okay, maybe I can think of 3 when I was working with them, of big donations that came in during the actual event, and it was 36 hours at that time. Yeah. But the vast majority of those big donations were all secured months before the actual event. So I'm wondering if there was any sandbagging there, that she had gone out and secured some of these.
I'm sure there's a lot.
I just can't believe that in 24 hours. That's the kind of support. That's just weird.
The electorate is just so excited about her. That's the other side of this. Maybe she announced and people were, heck yeah, Jenna Griswold. See, and here's a check.
That's why I believe, and again, I'm having a hard time wrapping my tiny little brain around this one as far as why it makes sense. So I understand that I could be 100% rationalizing. I could be just looking for a solution that makes sense in my head, because this breaks my brain that she would have this much enthusiasm in the first 24 hours.
Go, Jenna.
Yeah,
Go, Jenna.
I know.
$185,000.
The thing that makes me think is, okay, then the smart play would be sandbag it, bring the donations in, and then you announce this on the first day, and then you have some of those people that don't pay attention to politics going, oh, people like her. Maybe she's the name I need to watch for. So it's an endorsement without an endorsement is kind of my idea. That is this. And if she did it this way, very smart. That's strategically much more intelligent than she has been in her office when she's actually been making proclamations and going through the daily Secretary of State stuff. And that's why, again, I think I might be rationalizing, because this seems too clever by half for her to be able to do that. So I don't know. I don't understand.
869 contributions from 7 a.m. Monday through the same time on Tuesday for an average donation of $212. Since Griswold entered the race, this is Colorado politics, by the way, after the end of the year's fundraising quarter, her initial campaign finance report covering a 3-month period will end on June 30th. Isn't due until July 15th. She's right now running against Michael Doherty out of Boulder. Now, this is the guy that prosecuted the King Super shooting. So he's the DA up there. And, Bill, when you were out, we had George Bruckler on. And George saying that Michael has at least tried a case.
That's the first thing when I popped up, and I thought there was Griswold. I'm like, she hasn't been in court. I mean,
no, some of our text messages pointed out that my cousin Vinny's had more courtroom success than Jenna Griswold.
I want to know what I don't remember what the courtroom success Jenna had was, or where or what.
And to that point, George brought up the fact that it's unlikely that she's ever even practiced law. Has she even had a client?
Yeah,
where she's had to represent them in a legal matter.
And that's worrisome. That, I mean, on so many levels. The idea of what, because again, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm going through that right now through another process and something going on in my life that I'm discovering a lot of what I don't know that I don't know.
Yeah.
And running into some hurdles that I did not anticipate because of it in the process I'm going through. And so that's part of it is I can't imagine that you would want someone to be the Attorney General of the state and not have any practical experience in actually prosecuting the law, only because it seems like you might waste a lot of time and effort doing things that shouldn't be done because you don't know what the hell you're doing. I'm just saying that if I would have run against George Bruckler for DA of District 23, there's no way I'm winning. I have no idea what I'm doing. And we saw how well it went with George and his opponent, Dagny, who was here on the show.
And then decided never to come back.
Oh, yeah. But was here on the show, and we asked her about her greatest success. She's running for district attorney. And we asked her about her greatest success, and she highlights a defense case where she's defending. I'm like, wait, hang on. Oh, just wait, hold on. There was that moment where you're like, did you think of those words before they came out of your mouth? Or did they, I don't know. That's the issue, is there's no way anybody, and if I ran against George Bruckler for DA and anybody voted for me, those people should be hitting the head with a hammer. I don't deserve a vote against George Bruckler, so why in the hell?
I'm pretty sure your mom wouldn't vote for you.
No, she would
George
not.
Bruckler.
There's no way, no. Because who knows me better than almost anybody else outside my wife? My mom. She's like, that idiot, there's no way of putting him in charge of that.
So I bring this up because please, and I'm going to post this on X too, if you were one of the 869 contributors to Jenna Griswold, I would love, I'm not going to.
Just why?
I'm not going to bash you.
Explain it to me. What am I
I'm not going to shame you.
No.
We don't even need to use your name, okay? I just want to understand why.
Yes.
I want insight into the mind of a person who says Jenna Griswold, with all of her staffing problems, with the BIOS password problems, with the taking her marching orders from Planned Parenthood problems, to the fact she's never practiced law. And maybe it's just as simple as she's the most vocal person against Donald Trump, and that's who you want in the Attorney General's seat. I would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115.
Another question you should ask those people. If you do get some texts, what you need to ask them is there are 3 follow-ups that you need to ask those people, okay, when they text you back and on the social medias. You need to ask them, do you think that Pete Hegseth was qualified to be Secretary of Defense? Do you think Kash Patel was qualified to run the FBI? Now, this is the clincher. This is the one that's going to get him. This is the one that's going to break the brain. Do you think RFK Jr. should run the National Institutes of Health? Ask them that. Just because. If they think that Jenna's the best person to choose, I'm just saying, I'm not easy to live with on the show many times, but at least sometimes I try to be intellectually consistent. I think that those three are awful nominees for the same reason I think Jenna Griswold shouldn't be Attorney General. I judge the exact same way on all four of those people. I think they're vastly unqualified to do the job. That's okay. However, luckily, we get to vote on Jenna, not the others, and that's fair. So I'm okay with that.
True.
So
very,
that's
very true.
So if they text you back and they reach out, ask them.
I see them in
compared to those guys.
entirely different universes, as you can imagine.
Oh, I understand that. That's
an
okay.
interesting
That's fair.
point, Bill. Very interesting point.
Yeah, but it would be an interesting point for those supporters of Jenna.
Yeah,
because I
sure.
would guess, I'm just guessing, that they would have yelled and screamed about one of those three. They would have yelled about one of those three being unqualified because they couldn't do the job. So that's why I picked the three of them. So you got to ask about those three names and see what they think. Yeah.
Very good questions. All right, we'll get to that and more. Phone lines are open, but now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It's Thursday.
Blake?
41 degrees. So yes, sir.
Are you one of the 869 that donated to Jenna Griswold?
Yes, we want to know.
How did you find me out? Wow.
You're one of the big donors, yes.
Yeah, I got a check from a guy named George Soros, and he asked me to
Deposit it in his,
yeah,
your
deposit it in my name. Yes.
Like the Nigerian prince, yes. I need to get my
right.
winnings out of the...
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I was trying to think of the name of that actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone who prevents me from voting for one of the greatest presidents of all time, I'm sorry. She's not qualified, and she's going to get a lot of support because we have a bunch of lefty loons in this state. But it's still the greatest state in the world. That's why I live here. Let's just change it. Let's get it back to red. Hey, we're expecting a high of 69 today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, 2, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela.
The
Honduras,
tariff
Guyana,
freak
Brazil,
out was
Guatemala,
paused on
Bolivia,
Wednesday. This
Argentina,
morning's
Ecuador,
stock
Chile,
futures
Brazil,
are down, but
Costa Rica,
it's called the market. Things go up and down. Wednesday's massive rallies followed DJT's announcement, of course, of the 90-day pause on some tariffs on Wednesday, and this caused the Dow to have its biggest jump in 5 years. And the S&P 500 posted its biggest gain since 2008. 47 disgusted with Wyoming's John Barrasso after the pause. It's kind of interesting.
You got the market seeing your brilliance.
Yeah, that's up almost 7 points. 2,500 points. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's going to be a record.
Amazing. Yeah. You make an announcement the next day.
Almost up 2,500 points. That's pretty cool.
Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be, there'll be nothing like it. And people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before.
China is still the one not playing ball, so there's a 125% tariff on the Chinese. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
And all this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is a hole.
Tariff Schmariffs, the big executive order was all about the water pressure, in my opinion. Let's go.
You wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to
take care of my beautiful hair. And I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. It's the same water.
Yep.
And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized. We're going to try and get all of these things, including straws, a little thing like straws. We did straws a month ago, where the paper straws were melting. They were dissolving. They weren't working well. And we went back to the plastic straws.
Thank goodness. Denver could invest up to $70 million to build a new women's professional soccer stadium at the Santa Fe Yards. The proposal revealed Wednesday during a city council meeting. Representatives from the mayor's office said the city would buy the land for the project, make necessary infrastructure upgrades, and improve pedestrian access to the site. Money for the project would come from the city's capital improvement program. Some council members questioned the proposal, saying the current economic climate makes financial support for the project too risky. Colorado has been seeing a decline in auto thefts. That's great news. According to a report by the Colorado State Patrol, the state saw a 25% decrease in reported stolen vehicles by volume last year. The vehicle recovery rate also stands at 82%, which is the lowest point in the past 5 years. CSP said even though thefts continue to fall dramatically, it does not mean people can take a break or relax your vehicle security habits. So lock your doors, please. GOP lawmakers want to limit the power federal judges have to order nationwide injunctions. The House of Representatives on Wednesday passed a bill mostly along party lines that would make it so judges can only provide orders that apply to the parties directly involved in a case. The move is a Republican pushback to a series of injunctions against several of President Trump's executive actions. The death toll in the Dominican Republic roof collapse tragedy is now at 184 lives lost. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Nuggets beat the Kings last night, 124-116, with their new interim head coach, David Adelman, winning his first game. And Jokic says the beast is released. Watch out. Canucks at the Avalanche tonight. Frozen Four also tonight for the DU Pioneers taking on Western Michigan. And round one at Augusta this morning. The Masters. I love this weekend.
A tradition unlike any other.
Like no other.
Is that what it is? No other?
I don't even
Who knows?
know. Like
I'm not a big golfer.
You know what? I love the Masters, though. I'm
Yeah.
right there with you. I should know that. I think it's like, yeah, maybe it is like any other. Hey, you know what, Jeff? You had a great post. This thing last night, I'm going to play this and you can explain it. This is so great what you posted on X. Here's what happened. I think it's Bernie up here.
Paul, we're back with Senator Bernie Sanders. I want to introduce Grace Thomas. She's a local civil rights attorney. She's a Democrat. Grace?
They, them pronouns, actually. Thank you.
Oh.
Good evening, Senator Sanders. Polling and turnout data indicate that men of all racial...
What? Okay, so what? this lady should
They them pronouns. They them pronouns, please. That's Anderson Cooper interviewing Bernie Sanders. Now, if Colorado gets its way, Mr. Cooper, you have misgendered this person. Straight to jail.
That's right.
Straight to jail.
Right to jail because he misgendered it or him. Whatever.
All right. So, in light of that, I want to bring this up, and this was something that Bill and I were going to talk about. Trump's press secretary doesn't engage with reporters using pronouns in their emails.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, if you jam that down on us, I'm going to jam it down on you.
So
You know?
it's funny how you end up with signals, right? Signals that they likely aren't on the same wavelength, as the kids like to say, with you and with regards to values. This is I use an example of a church with a pride flag outside. You drive up to that church and you see a pride, you go, probably not on the same wavelength. When people like in LinkedIn or their emails or those type of things are using pronouns all the time, I'm like, yeah, probably not the same wavelength. But It's kind of interesting that the press secretary is like, I just don't trust you. You deny reality.
Right.
We're not going to talk.
Exactly. You're supposed to report on facts, and I'm supposed to, give them to you, and then I'm gonna trust you to report those facts. No, I agree. Welcome back to Earth. Come on back, reality. 39 in Brighton, 38 in Littleton, 40 in Denver.
Now, Blake, I got to ask you one more question on this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, you're not single. You're happily married. I'm happily married. Bill's happily married. Okay?
Yep.
But let's say I'm going to put Blake into the dating pool for just a second.
Okay.
And you're on the app and surfing, and you're looking at ladies to potentially date, and somebody comes across with pronouns in their bio. Do you go out on a date with them?
Oh, no, absolutely.
I wouldn't either.
No way.
Bill, would
Are
you go out on a
kidding
date
me?
if they had pronouns in the bio?
Yeah. Don't see why it would matter. I just don't understand why it would matter, but okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
For me, it's such a red flag.
Yeah.
I would just steer away from it.
Recipe for hell.
I mean, could you imagine just all the other battles you're going to have in life?
Yes.
Perhaps that's why they're there. It is to prevent matches with people like y'all.
Right.
Just saying that it may be defensive. May not necessarily be, that they're luring things. It may be defensive.
I'm not offended by that. If someone's like, look,
no, but I'm just saying defensive.
You got
it's the idea that
he's a conservative Christian.
Or if you're going to make an issue of it, we're not going to gel. And again, this is dating. It's not necessarily friendship or relationships or working relationships or anything else.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. Romantic's a little bit different. Yeah, the whole thing with the Trump White House, tell me you're afraid of talking to journalists that ask difficult questions without telling me you're afraid to talk to journalists that ask difficult questions. It's totally what it is.
No.
Yes, they're avoiding conversations that are hard.
No.
Yes. Oh, totally.
They don't trust them. And I don't blame them because these quote-unquote journalists are hacks. I mean,
but again, wait, we have no examples or anything from them. You've just made a blanket assumption that any journalist that uses a pronoun on their email signature is a hack. Yeah, there's no way. I know.
Yes,
I know.
That
exactly.
is a very blanket statement,
and that is exactly.
I guarantee you.
And that is exactly what I'm accusing.
It's a correct statement.
And I disagree. I disagree with that being a correct statement. But you proved my point. It's the idea that because I see this, I'm going to discount this individual, their questions, and I don't have to engage.
It deserved to be discounted.
And if I don't, but the issue is I don't have to engage because I disagree with where they are and everything else. So the White House is avoiding people that are going to ask tough questions.
No, they're being
that's
smart.
Right on there.
They're being intelligent about this.
They're being a bunch of wussies. They're being afraid to engage with people that may ask difficult questions. And guess what? If the person goes out there and twists what they say, what does the White House get to do? Here, we have a transcript of what we say. Here's the audio. Here's the report. This person's a liar. You want to take this person down?
You get to avoid all of that,
but
and just not engage with them.
But isn't the issue showing that these are journalists that are not coming to the table being fair and reasonable? If that's the point, they have the ammunition.
But Bill,
instead they avoid the entire conversation because it's too hard.
We're not into fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. We're into fool me 500 million times by this point.
No.
Why would I even talk with you? Why would I even be in the same room with you? I eventually got to this point with like the Denver Post where I got so tired of them like wildly misrepresenting the events that I was putting on, not even close to even the same universe as to the coverage of the events that we were putting on. That I just said, I'm not even going to let you guys in the room. It makes no point, because now I got to go deal with trying to correct your record, all this stuff. You're just a bunch of liberal hacks. I don't need to invite you into the room. I don't even need to have a conversation with you.
But if the point of the White House is they aren't any good at their job and they're invalid as reporters, they can prove it. This is the White House. This is yeah, they do.
It's like just a job distraction.
No. They're just sitting there going,
the White House's job to go out there and prove that they're
questions.
wrong.
We can't possibly answer the hard questions. Oh no, don't ask the hard questions. No. And even if they're dumb questions, at least they could outline that they are dumb questions. No, not at all. But just because someone puts pronouns in their email signature, wow, yeah. Again, tell me you're afraid to talk to journalists without telling me you're afraid to talk to journalists. It's exactly what it is. You are a bunch of scaredy cats.
You can now see the types of people they are coming a mile away.
Bunch of scaredy cats.
There's just not enough time to police them anymore.
They're afraid to talk to them. No, but the issue is they're afraid to talk to them. They're afraid to. They are afraid to talk to them.
I hope not.
Yes, they are.
I just think that let's go. Let's be productive. Let's keep on moving. If you see this nut job who's about to wreck you in a story, I mean, it's not even worth the time anymore. I mean, I agree with Jeff.
Again, we've decided that pronouns in email now are full nut jobs who are deciding to wreck you. Again, we are ascribing hell of a lot.
In media, heck yeah. If you're the White House,
a whole lot of motivations
in the White House,
that are not proven.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly. That's the sole reason they're there.
Yeah.
They're not there to provide news coverage.
And that's the idea. Yeah. Oh, sure. Okay. And the other part is, and it also proves that they're scared. They are scared to engage with them. Good job, guys. Yep, well, they are scared. They are scared and afraid to engage with them. Yeah. The White House press room is scared and afraid to engage with people that put pronouns at the bottom of their email signatures.
There's a biblical saying of throwing your pearls to swine. It's just like wasting your time. Why would I even have a conversation with you? You're going to run out there. In many ways, you've probably already written your story, and now you just throw in my name. That's happened to me before.
So do you think that when the Obama administration made that accusation about Fox, they were being accurate and truthful? Because that was the accusation. That's why I cut them out of several events, because that was the accusation.
Didn't they wiretap a Fox reporter too?
The issue is, the question I'm asking you is that, no, they didn't. Not that I'm aware of, but again, maybe. But again, the idea is, isn't that the reasoning? The reasoning you are using for Donald Trump to avoid the press is somewhat of the same reasoning that the Obama administration was using. And I believe it was incorrect then, and I believe it's incorrect now. Yes. That's it.
I have to question your professional and mental capacity if you put the pronouns on there.
They're scared. The White House is scared. And the other part is this. This is how clever it is now to then deceive the White House. Delete, send. I can go into my email signature, delete two words, 2 pronouns, and then send it. Now it's now it's a genuine reporter. Now it's a genuine reporter because I was able to delete 7 characters on the email
help
signature.
Me understand
That's
this.
Great.
Why do people who are not trans put their pronouns in bios?
Yeah, great question.
In some ways, it's out of respect, etc. Again, I don't necessarily always agree with it, but I don't think it's wrong, and nor am I going to prejudge an individual based on how they're coming to a story, or whether or not they're going to be right, accurate, or misjudge me based on those 2 words in an email signature. And again, this is how easy it is to get around this way that the White House has decided who are the real journalists. Delete, send. That's how clever it is now to get around what the White House is doing. Good job, guys. They're afraid. They are afraid. If I can delete 2 pronouns out of an email signature and they'll answer my question, they're afraid.
There you go. It's that easy.
They're afraid.
No, they're not afraid.
They're afraid.
But help me.
Because the question's okay when I don't have the pronouns in the email signature, but the question's not okay when I have the pronouns on my email signature. My question's validity and accuracy is dependent upon the pronouns on my email signature. That's such 100%. Horse crap. That is such horse crap.
No, help me understand this.
Such horse crap.
I've had people.
They're so scared.
I've had people who
they're so scared.
Put like Mr. or Ms. in to clarify. Like I had a buddy named Shannon, and he was male, not trans, and he just puts Mr. to help people understand that when they're talking to somebody via email, they're talking to somebody that's a guy.
He's so woke. That's so woke.
Then he doesn't do the he, him, her.
He's got to be super lib.
Do you see a difference between those two?
No, super woke.
I see a difference.
Woke. He's being super woke. He's telling people his gender. Yeah, he's super woke.
He's defining
his pronouns.
Doing it for clarity.
So woke. So could the other person as well, but that's okay. Because again, your assumptions are for this guy. That
Do you think
clarity.
they're doing it for clarity, though?
No, I think your friend's woke. Because I'll just assume I'll just go with you guys. Sure. Put the pronouns in, the identifiers woke. Your friend's woke.
I see
super
a difference,
woke.
though. You don't
Mr.
see a
Shannon's
difference?
super woke.
You don't see a difference?
No, nor do I think it's a big deal. To me, it's absolutely and totally irrelevant. When I saw that being added to the email signatures, I'm like, Lisa's stupid. Don't care. I literally do not care. But the fact that we're going to make choices about who's going to be accurate or truthful based on pronouns in an email signature is freaking stupid. Because again, the validity and accuracy of my question is not determined on whether or not I have pronouns in an email signature. That is not the determining factor.
It totally clarifies the type of person you are. And that's helpful for the White House to deal with.
So this is the
that
idea.
You're probably a progressive hack.
So in order for me to fool the White House, this is how difficult it is to fool the White House.
I agree.
Delete, 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 send. That's how difficult it is to pull one over on the White House.
Yeah.
Nice job, guys. Yeah, you've got some crack investigators there. Yeah, Sherlock Holmes is tipping his hat to you. His deerstalker hat is being tipped because he and Dr. Watson can't possibly crack the case of the people that deleted the email pronouns in their signature.
Okay, again,
now they got through the cleverly worded questions. Yes,
answer to me why
absolutely.
people put pronouns when they're not trans.
I don't know. I'm guessing they just want to, maybe respect, maybe the community they're working through. Who cares? I don't care.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear why they do it.
Here's the idea. I don't care. Why do you care? That's the other part. Let's go to that one. Why do you care?
Because it
whether or not they
signals
put it
the
in
type
there?
of person they are.
What?
So if you
and that would be what?
And woke.
Woke. Oh.
Yeah.
They couldn't just be respectful. They couldn't be respectful or just wanting to.
But I go back to my original question. Why would you put pronouns in your bio if you're not trans?
Why does Mr. Shannon put a Mr. in there if he's not trans?
Clarification to the fact that he's male.
Okay, so bring clarification to the fact that who these people are. Okay, they may interact in the community.
Do you think someone named Bill Thorpe needs to clarify to other people their gender?
Yeah, sure.
You don't think it's clear in your name?
Nope. Because guess what? There's Billy. There's two versions of Billy. I have a hat that has the female version. Yeah, I have a hat that has the female version of Billy. Hang on. I have a hat that has the female version of Billy on it. Yes. Yeah, there are two versions.
And the female version is spelled Billy?
No, Billie in some cases.
Right. So it does. That's a
again,
signal.
hang on. But
And
again,
if your name was used that way, then I understand you could put in a Mr.
What if my parents just put the IE in there and I've just been Billie my entire life?
Then I would understand you're trying to clarify to people.
But again,
you don't think Bill Thorpe clarifies enough?
I don't see the big issue. I don't
understand.
Allison
or Nicole or any of that stuff.
I don't understand why everybody's panties are all in a wad over whether or not someone has pronouns in their email signature.
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't care.
Because it tells me the type
really
of person you are. If
also,
go ahead.
It's a cultural thing to me. I don't want our culture to be destroyed. It's what's right and wrong.
So, but destroyed. How does putting pronouns in an email signature destroy the culture? Walk me through that.
As a journalist, to me, it just ruins your credibility.
Well, no, but like, hang on. Personally, though, that's your personal opinion because you disagree with it.
No, in my professional opinion, because as Jeff said, it tells me exactly where they're bent. So it's not going to be objective. I could be wrong.
What if you're a journalist that interacts with people that are on the left a number of times, and that just the exact opposite of what the White House is saying? That if you don't have those pronouns in there, they discount you and they throw you out.
I think that 100% happens.
Okay,
100% happens.
Does that make it right? Are they correct? Are those liberal organizations correct for making those assumptions about the journalists? Are they correct, and is that fair?
No.
But then why is it fair when the White House does the same thing?
Because one's right and one's wrong.
No, you agree with one and you disagree with the other.
One's right and one's wrong.
It's the exact same issue on both sides. You just agree with one choice, not the other. That's it. Your morality and choices are transitional.
If you're a liberal, you're thinking that because both sides look at somebody based upon their pronouns, that they're both equally rational. When a liberal organization looks at somebody and goes, "Oh, all right, Jeff doesn't have pronouns in his bio. We're going to discount him." They're being dumb.
Yeah,
when the White House looks at somebody and sees that they have pronouns in their bio, they're actually being smart.
Okay, so let's review. If one organization looks at someone having or not having pronouns in their bio, they're dumb. And if another organization looks at someone having or not having pronouns in their bio, they're smart.
Yeah. based upon how you view pronouns.
So you wonder, yes, and so it's all conditional on your personal belief system.
It's not conditional.
Which is exactly, yes, it is. It's just
objective.
conditional.
It's objective.
When
you
I give
just don't like the idea that somebody with pronouns in their bio might not actually be that smart.
Again, that has nothing to do with it. You keep ascribing this idea of intelligence or anything else. I'm not. I'm looking for consistency. Yes, you are.
I am totally ascribing intelligence. That's why they are different.
Which means it's conditional, which is exactly what I said.
It's objective.
It's conditional. It's conditional. It's objective. You've decided who's smart and who's not. That's conditional. That's subjective.
The universe decided.
That is subjective. No, that's subjective. It's completely and totally subjective.
It's totally objective.
You keep using that word. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
It is objectively true that those that put pronouns in their bios are not smart.
That is not a true statement, but that's okay.
I'll give it back to you.
And that is not even an objective statement. That is a subjective statement.
No, it is
that is a
universally objective.
That is a subjective statement.
That if you believe you can change your gender, you're not.
That is a subjective statement, but that's okay. And conditional. And thank you for proving my point.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff and Billy, continue.
India, Pakistan, Burma, Afghanistan, Thailand, Nepal, Bhutan, Cambodia, Malaysia, then Bangladesh, Asia, and China, Korea, Japan.
And the show moves on. Blake Olson, 710, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There will be a mixture of high and mid-level clouds with sunshine, mild temperatures, and some wind today. Northwest winds 15 to 30. Highs near 70, lows tonight mid to upper 30s, still breezy. Winds will ease up, slightly cooler, but sunny, pleasant, mid-60s on Thursday. Then, warming up. 75 to 80 on Friday, 70 Saturday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. There will be a...
Well, if you want to see Billy and I debate live in person, you can.
Yes.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, we're going to be at IHOP.
That's right.
Yeah, the one in Belmar, so the one over like Wadsworth, Alameda area. So that'll be kind of cool. That'll be fun. I'm excited about this one. We got a breakfast special, not free, but breakfast special coming up with KNUS. They are discounting their eggs, bacon, sausage, hash browns, pancakes for $7.10. So best deal you're going to have getting to your morning started that day. Better than anything you're going to be able to buy at the fast food places or at the coffee shop, anything like that. We're giving you a fantastic deal and a way to get your day started. Plus, come have some fun with us. We'll hang around. We'll talk to you. We'll take some pictures. We'll do some fun stuff. Yeah, we'd love to see us. That'll be next Wednesday at the IHOP in Belmar, Wadsworth, Alameda. Hope to see everybody there. It'll be fun.
And if you've never been to a live broadcast, it goes for 4 hours, but you don't have to hang around for 4 hours. You're welcome to have breakfast, hang out, because we end up typically packing out the place. So there's a lot of people there. So lots of conversation happening. Last time both our moms came and they didn't listen to us at all.
They didn't.
They went, sat in the booth and talked about us.
Yes, exactly.
And not even really us, their grandchildren,
the
our kids.
Yeah.
That's what they spent most of the time talking about.
That was the conversation. So that was kind of fun. But they weren't even paying attention to the show.
They
not
weren't.
at all. No.
So you can interact with other people. You could sit there and listen. We set up speakers so you can hear the show. We have all these cameras and lights, and you get to see the whole production side of things, which is really cool. And you're welcome to just swing by and go, "Hey, Billy!"
Yeah, it's great.
And,
love to see it.
Grab a cup of coffee and just swing by and say.
And when you had like those commercial breaks we just had, we got some downtime there, so we'll get up, we'll wander around, chat with people, hang out with you, take pictures. It's a great way for us just to have a kind of quiet one-on-one conversation. And it doesn't have to be about politics or anything else. A lot of times I'll talk to people about families, friends, what they're doing that day, where they came from, history stuff. So just, goofing around, just getting to know you. We just want to have some fun, see you, and get you a good breakfast to start the day at $7.10. You are not going to beat this deal anywhere in town next Wednesday.
Definitely not with fast food.
Yeah,
it'll be more expensive and worse quality.
Dude, I was coming home for bar trivia last night trying to grab a Whopper, because it's right across the street. And I was like, I don't know if I want to. Went into the app, and there was a discount I could get, but noticed that if I went to just the regular Burger King and just drove through, the Whopper was going to be plus tax over $7 for just a sandwich.
It's so ridiculous.
So that's
They're
the idea.
Killing themselves.
Yeah, for less than you would be able to get the Whopper at Burger King, we are going to give you a full, complete breakfast at IHOP. I mean, we're talking the entire setup is going to be taken care of for $7.10, and you'd be paying nearly $8 for a Whopper at McDonald's.
Fast food has got to be making the worst decisions right now, because you got the whole Maha movement. So you got people going, nah, we're not doing that anymore. I'm worrying about the type of crap I'm putting in my body or my kids and that type of thing. And then they're driving up the prices on it. I don't get it.
That's ridiculous.
We are going to get to Jay eventually. Jay, you're so patient, but we got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
right, it's that time in the morning. Get you going. Nothing better than some You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, it's that time of the morning where you get to play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. You know how this goes. I've scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really, really dumb stories about us humans, giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why in the world would we do this at this time of the morning? Because, well, nobody in charge is paying attention. They have no idea we are this irresponsible with valuable KNUS airtime, and so until they find out, we are going to continue the tomfoolery. So, shh. It's our secret. Okay. Now, Blake Olson is joining us from the news department. Jeff Hunt in the studio. Gentlemen, here are your stories, sirs. Headline number 1, fanatical discovery. Headline number 2, value proposition for trade-in. Headline number 3, don't sweat your problems. And headline number 4, like a fat tax. Mr. Hunt.
Do the fat tax.
Yes, like a fat tax. A restaurant in Thailand is drawing lots of attention online and an equal amount of criticism for offering discounts to only their skinniest customers. Customers at Chiang Mai Breakfast World in the northern Thai city can get up to 20% off their bill provided they can fit their svelte body through a series of increasingly narrow gates erected near the beer garden's entrance. So they've got them labeled to 5%, 15%, 20%, 10% gates, and then what normally people go through, it's full price, sorry. Yes, recent posts on social media have been showing people trying to squeeze through. One person only being able to get their head through the 15% off gate before giving up and trying the 20. Couldn't do that and eventually had to pay full price.
Does that have to do with portion sizes? If you're a bigger person, you're going to eat more?
They just say that, I have no idea. They just decided. Yeah. The odd thing is they used to do the same thing, but if you could fit through the skinniest area, they'd give you the meal for free. But they changed that.
Nice.
Now they're charging for that. Yeah. So I don't know. But they've decided, yes, they've got this series of gates, and depends on which one you slide through. That's the discount off of your fare that evening. Alrighty. Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Fanatical discovery, value proposition for trade-in, or don't sweat your problems.
Let's take number 1. What was it again?
Fanatical discovery.
Thank you.
Yes. The vice president of a Buffalo chapter of Bikers Against Child Abuse was arrested on Wednesday because it turns out he's a fan of child abuse. He was arrested for sex crimes against children. 49-year-old John Tadero of Amherst allegedly found to be in possession of child porn following an internet crimes against children investigation. They also say he was disseminating child pornography, and the reason they're so worried about this is because of his role in Bikers Against Child Abuse. He has a lot of access to the kids, and they were worried about this is how he was getting a hold of them. He's charged with promoting sexual performance of a child and possessing sexual information and lewd pictures. Yes, the Bikers Against Child Abuse did the child abuse thing. I know. It's hard when you have people that you look up to that are kind of like, that's not a hero or anything, but someone that you think is doing something good, and they're like, no, you know that thing I'm fighting, I'm actually doing the same thing. Yeah, that's just awful. Yeah. I know. It's horrible. All right, let's see if we can change the feeling in the room. Jeff, your choice, sir. Value proposition for trade-in, or don't sweat your problems?
Don't sweat your problems.
Yeah, don't sweat your problems. Here we are traveling to India. The sports minister in India is telling people, hey, I understand that we're going through a dramatic heat wave right now in the area. Temperatures are cresting above 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So they are trying to bring safety and security to the people. They are distributing blankets during the heat wave. Yeah. Nobody's actually curious serious about. Yes, they're not sure as why they decided to go with the blankets. But yes, in order to have people, they've done some giveaways where they say, "Hey, we're going to help you deal with the heat wave," and you show up and they give you a blanket.
Are they funded by USAID?
I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I just look at it and like, the blankets
filled with ice.
No, not at all. They're just blankets. And the best part about it is you can see pictures online, and the people that are receiving the blankets are kind of like, I don't understand. They have these very confused looks on their faces. Like, I don't understand why I'm sitting here sweating in places that shouldn't be moist, and you're handing me a blanket. I
Sounds like somebody in the storage room was like, we got to clear out some space.
Yes, or Grandma keeps knitting these blankets. Get rid of them quickly. Please give them away to anybody you know.
We got a new order coming in.
Yes.
All right.
All right, that's the
We'll continue with our debates. We got Rose Pugliese, the top Republican in the House, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour to talk about the budget battle taking place at the state capitol as well. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 10th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Let's go to the phone lines. Jay and Sterling. Good morning, Jay. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, yeah.
So what's on your mind?
Battery's about ready to go dead. I got a question for you guys. You guys are smarter than I am.
Yes.
So if you hold a public office, are you exempt from jail and theft?
No.
No.
Because of
Unless
what
you're president,
Pelosi has
then
done?
you're okay. And what? Tell me what Pelosi has done that requires jail and theft. What is it you're seeing?
Okay. Any of these politicians that have paid themselves a lot more than their civil wage.
Do we have any evidence of them being paid more than their civil wage?
Yeah, we got it. Trump has exposed all that.
In what way and where? Because I haven't seen that in the Doge. I may have missed it, but what?
Well, they're only supposed to make, what, $170 a year? Is what their wages were?
They're only supposed to be paid from the federal government that much. They are free to make wages any other way that they want to. And one of the ways that Jeff and I always talk about is they become phenomenally astute at trading stock. It's remarkable how good everybody gets to Congress and all of a sudden trades as well as everybody else that's been making millions and millions on this for years.
And
but somehow
they
getting
also
elected.
make a lot of money off of book royalties.
Yeah.
So
that's
a book
it.
company
and they
will
can
advance.
and that is perfectly legal.
But they're giving deals to, being that they make the laws, they're giving deals to certain companies, so they get a kickback from the other companies.
Wait, kickbacks are illegal, but you'd have to demonstrate the kickback. And that's the issue, is the idea that
that's
because...
what Trump is opening up.
But no, he's not.
Or
He hasn't
Elon
shown
Musk
any.
is.
No, Elon hasn't shown any kickbacks that
Elon
you've
Musk
seen.
has opened up a lot.
No, see, the Bob Mendez, Gold Bars Bob, he was getting kickbacks. And he was prosecuted under the Biden administration. Those were kickbacks based on things that he was doing for an Egyptian manufacturer. He was getting kickbacks from the company that included gold bars that he had in his house. So that's what you'd have to have. The idea of Pelosi being invested in companies and then changing the laws to make it to be an advantage to those companies is technically not illegal right now. I would submit it should be that you shouldn't be allowed to have those investments nor trade stock while you are in Congress. But I don't get to make the rules.
Thank you. That's my point.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to make laws in Congress when you shouldn't be able to invest in companies which you're making the laws for that company.
You're absolutely right. And
that'd
Jim,
be like them buying farm ground.
Oh yeah.
And then saying, okay, yeah, well, we're going to give a discount on corn prices or hay prices for whatever.
The one that even happens more is rather than them making the laws and changing it, what they would do is they would see that the law is going to change, and then they would change their investments accordingly. And this is one of the easiest ways you can see how this happens. Go back to pre-COVID. Go back about 6 months. 6 months before COVID really gets serious.
Same thing with Johnson
so 2019.
Johnson.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in 2019, go look at members of Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, and how their investment profile changed. Because oddly enough, both Democrats and Republicans in the ramp up to the COVID shutdowns started selling off stock in entertainment and service companies and started buying stock in pharmaceutical and medical companies.
But guys, you can actually, they have like websites that track what Nancy, you could do the same thing. There's actually no one stopping you from actually trading the same way Nancy Pelosi does.
There's a fund out there that does that, but again, you would have to have the disposable income available to trade like Nancy Pelosi does. But just because Nancy's doing it doesn't mean it is ethical or moral.
$1,000,
but
and
it
then
doesn't
just
mean
follow her. So it's not like you don't have access to what they're doing.
Yeah,
you can see perfectly what they're doing.
But is what they're doing ethical and moral? Is it something they should be allowed to do? I disagree. I don't think they should.
They should be allowed to do?
Yeah, I don't think they should be allowed to. I think it should
That'd
be prohibited.
That'd be like you investing in another radio show as you're being on a radio show. Now, that'd be like me as a farmer.
It would be like me running the FTC and then investing in radio shows. That's what it would be like.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why I disagree with it. Yeah. And that's the thing.
but shouldn't that be jail time? Because this is an embezzlement, what it is.
Embezzling is illegally taking the money, and it is legal.
Said.
But it's legal right now. That's the problem, Jim. It's legal. It is totally and completely legal right now for them to do it.
We got to make that illegal.
Yes.
Well, Jay, you're going to ask members of Congress to give up
That'd be
money?
like me buying stock in you and then investing in you guys and paying you guys to tell the rest of the world what to say or what we hear across the radio vibes.
Yeah, Jay, you
I
got
agree
a
with
good
you. I want
point.
to make it
But
illegal,
again,
man. I'd make it illegal.
Again, you're going to have to ask members of Congress to give up some of their money. Good luck with that.
And some of the easiest money they make. There's no way that's happening.
Money that just grows while they're doing other work.
It's like, let's see, I have inside information so I can anticipate where the market's going before it happens, and I'm going to stop doing that because I can make piles and piles of money. I mean, for whatever reason, Nancy Pelosi's husband all of a sudden became an investment genius after she hit Congress. I don't know how that happens, but it's got to be some sort of intelligence pill they're not sharing with us. That, yes, the Department of Health has discovered a super intelligence pill they hand out to every freshman congressional member, and then they become stock geniuses overnight. Or they know what's happening in the market beforehand because they're making the rules. Wonder what one it is. Just
All
saying.
right, we've got a lot to get to this hour. We're going to, speaking of budget issues down at the state capitol, Rose Pugliese is going to be joining us. She's the top Republican in the House Minority Leader in just a little bit. But now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. Mostly sunny and 40 degrees on this Thursday in Denver. Expecting a high of 69 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, DJT says his 90-day pause on global tariffs was not part of a negotiation strategy. The president told reporters on Wednesday, sometimes it's not a negotiation until it is, adding that the U.S. has to stay flexible during this period. The tariff pause does not include China, of course.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is hell.
Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be, there'll be nothing like it. And people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before.
Around 600 pounds of marijuana was stolen from a secured Colorado State Patrol evidence trailer in Arapahoe County. CSP Chief Colonel Matthew Packard says this has never happened before, forcing CSP to take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again.
We missed the boat here. We could have done a better job to secure that. And so not only are we interested in recovering what we can and holding folks accountable, we need to hold ourselves accountable as well.
Officials say 900 pounds of marijuana?
600.
600?
In a trailer? I
knew you were going to bring this
What?
up.
Hang on. Okay. Again, I am not the sharpest fork in the drawer. But if we are storing stuff that's related to crimey type things,
yeah,
I'm guessing trailer outside. Probably not the top of the list. I
agree with you on that.
Yeah, there's some valuables we have in our house. You know where you don't store them? In a trailer outside. I can't. I
know.
What?
If it doesn't have bricks or a basement,
yes.
or
a guard dog,
or a guard dog, or a surveillance camera.
Yes.
Anything.
Something like that.
But guys, you're in Colorado and it's marijuana. You can grow 99 plants in your house.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of like, they're kind of like, stoners aren't going to be motivated enough to come here and break into this stuff.
You just leave it outside.
Yeah.
There's enough of it lying around anyways.
Put a sign on the outside of the trailer. No pot inside. We promise. That's basically what they did. Yes.
I'm trying to picture this, though. You're right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. And especially even if you were just going to start out there, I'm certain that even if you're not a marijuana enthusiast, you walk by and you're like, what's that smell?
Right.
You would just, and you're like, Are they storing in the trailer over there? Just,
Cheech and
the
Chong
level of
rolling up.
choices. Yes, again, the level of choices that
Speaking
got
of
to
this
goes into the trailer
Can, we
for security.
can someone genetically alter pot to not smell like a skunk?
Thank you.
They're working on that. They are working on that. Again,
I mean,
I have a lot of really weird things
so
that pop up,
sick of that.
and that's one of the things. And it's weird that you're talking about that because it was something that popped up in one of my alternative threads the other day. And the idea is, I think the story was something like, "Why does pot smell so bad?" But it was talking about the genetics people right now because it is becoming so open and accepted inside of American society that they are working on changing the smell. They're guys that are working on, and these are botanists that have way many degrees than we do and have done all sorts of stuff, but they're trying to change that skunky, weird, funky odor because of, that we all were exposed to at concerts for years and years and years, or at the Quad during college. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah,
they're looking
I'm
to make
sure
it more
it was an
fruity and some
article
other
you
stuff.
were reading, Bill. Not Bill hanging around with a bunch of other guys going.
No, I'll see if I can find it. But that's what they. And
you think we can change the smell of this?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though,
Yeah.
now that I think of it.
And that's what they were looking at is because it is being consumed so often in public, they're trying to make it less conspicuous and less offensive. And so that's the idea behind it is they're trying to add, and it was sweet flavors. They're trying to get peaches and citruses.
Yeah,
almost
I don't
like,
think I like that either.
Yeah, the idea is you're looking at all of a sudden like, oranges? Who's getting high? I mean, there's got to be a series of things there. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know if it'll happen, but yeah, I ran across that the other day.
I think they should make it smell like cigarette smoke. Then
That's a
everyone
good idea.
can shun them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that one. I like
I
that
know,
one.
let's
Or just
push
make
it
it smell
out.
even worse. Make it smell like old man farts or something, and then you're like, "Hey, there we go." Yeah, I mean, you guys you guys that are doing the marijuana in the public and stuff, you already don't care.
I
don't care we're
you
doing
got
this,
to
so might
imagine
as
that
well.
the cops kind of like it, right? In the sense, because you can walk up to somebody's car and be like,
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
a good point.
It's like a
it
big
was-
indicator. It's like when people put
Absolutely.
pronouns in the bios.
It was one of the things we were taught when I was doing security for CU football games during college. It was a fundraiser for the college that I was playing soccer for at the time. We didn't have any money, and so we provided security up at the CU games. And when you were in front of the kids section, they told you about how to figure out who was smoking marijuana and who was smoking cigarettes. And if you look at it, through the sun, the smoke's a different color. And so not only is it the scent, but you could see the puff. Not only that, but if you're smoking cigarettes, there's kind of a continuous chimney cycle. But if it's all of a sudden like a tugboat where it's like poof, and then nothing for like 2 minutes, then poof, you're like, that looks like a smoke signal. That's pretty much telling me you're up there smoking the devil's lettuce. Yes.
Yeah.
But and that was it. And they talk about the scent. And they said one of the things when the kids are trying to get into the stadium, they said is, when you're coming over and you're getting there, they said, do smell. Now don't lean forward and go, you smell like strawberries. That's creepy. That's creepy, and that'll lead to an investigation. But the idea, you can smell, because if they're bringing marijuana in, you can smell it as you're going through the gates. You can smell as they go by.
I bet if I ask you and Jeff right now, what is the worst place in Denver where you smell it the worst? I have a real sensitive nose. I'm curious if you guys know.
And Stephen Tubbs and I got into a little debate about this at one point, because I was pointing out that I-25 and 6th Avenue.
Yes.
It reaches right there.
Oh my God. Every day, every morning, noon, night.
Yes.
Why is that?
There's got to be a pot operation, like
Is
a
that
grow
what
house there. 100%.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. See,
It's 6th and I-25.
I'm not out in the public enough to do that, so I normally bump into it at concerts. But that's been the regular since I was a teenager. So you just kind of had that all the time.
Horrible.
Yeah, although it's interesting to see at the concerts, because again, I was just at a show on Monday, the number of people that just don't care anymore, where you used to see people hiding it, and now it's just open to the public. But the other part is that, luckily enough, I'm normally now in the old man section of the concert, and us old men section,
off,
not
kid.
not a lot of smokers, which is really nice. I mean, I was at the Papa Roach concert. There was nobody in our entire section that was doing marijuana. You could see it down on the floor in other places, and hardly smelled any of it all night. But it was because I'm hanging out with all the old guys. Yeah, we're
That's
like,
good.
We
So
know this is
that's
not a smart
upper
thing
deck?
to do. Yeah, no, actually, it was this is the key. Is if you aren't as worried about sight lines and you know where to do it, side of the stage. You can get some very, very good seats side of the stage. We were 11th row on the side, but on the edge,
that's right.
on the edge aisle. So our angle on the on the stage is about a 60% angle. So if you had your little protractor.
So that's the old man section.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You go to the side of the stage. Side of the stage for value. Oh, yes. And also, the kids aren't there. So I'm just saying. Helps out a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's exactly it.
All right. That's cool. I am so glad Jeff said 6 to 9:25. It is.
I'm too. I have no idea. Now I'm curious. I'm like, what's
right
over
by
there?
the Daz Bog Coffee. It's there's. It's all
I'm
right
not
there.
over there. Yeah, I know where it is. I'm
there.
not. I'm not over there enough.
That's why when cars drive through there, they're seconds later they're out of their lane. They're driving in the middle.
We're going to talk about that for a second too.
There's an accident every time you drive by 6th Avenue and I-25. Every single time.
Yes.
And in fact, it happens so often that Geico advertises there. If you look at it's like CDOT brought to you by Geico.
Okay, let's take this. Let's take this in a totally different direction now. So we're in traffic, and what do you guys think when you're sitting there in traffic? And a lot of times, this is when the cars are all stopped. So you're there, either you're on the highway or you get the red light, and you sit there, and then all of a sudden, there's like 2-3 cars in front of you, and then there's this big plume of smoke, this big poof, that just comes out. What are you assuming? What do you assume? Do you think that person's there vaping for tobacco products, or are they there smoking marijuana? Because my first indication is marijuana.
Yeah,
I'm
every
like,
time marijuana.
the first time I see that, I'm like,
which is illegal. We should make that caveat.
Yes, it is absolutely and totally illegal. And I've talked to the kids about it. I'm like, you see that. That's the car you watch out for, because their reaction time is going to be slower. So when they try to change lanes, they're going to be slower. They're not going to see you. They're going to be slower. When they start their car, they're going to be slower. When they stop the car, they're going to be slower. Assume they're playing on like a joystick that one of the joysticks isn't working properly. Assume that. Just understand that. That's who those people are.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I can't believe it. I'm sitting in traffic. Sometimes they're like, "Boo!" Big giant pillow of smoke comes out. I'm like, where are you going? What are you doing? That whatever it is during transportation, it is so necessary that we've got. I got to get me some high here. I don't. What? We couldn't do that before. We can't do it when we get there.
Fire.
I know. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand anymore. But then again,
I can smell it. I mean, I can smell it miles away.
But again, I grew up in an era where parents used to roll up the windows and smoke inside the car. So
true.
I'm not saying that we always came from a generation of brilliant decision makers. I'm just saying there's some decisions that were made that are very questionable.
And you got to imagine what our kids look at our cars and are like, so you plugged your phone into a thing that is not a plug. And it's because, it used to be a cigarette lighter.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. My car, the car that I drive is so old, I still have a cigarette lighter in there that's functional. I still have it.
Awesome.
And as a bonus, there's an ashtray.
Of us,
so cool.
I could raise my hand to this, burn themselves playing around with that as a kid at one point.
Oh, hell yeah.
No doubt.
With a cigarette lighter in the car.
You know why? The stupid thing glows bright red. You're like, that's pretty. Let me touch the red thing.
Kind of smelled good, too.
Yes.
How are you going to light your bottle rocket?
Yes, I know. That was so hard. and the idea being is you're just, but again, it was also a learning moment. There's so many of us that learned a hell of a lot of things by trying to touch that little thing. Yes.
Great lessons learned from
Lots
that.
of lessons and some scarring, but that's okay.
And that 1966 Galaxy 500 that my dad had.
Yep. That goes 0 to 60 in a week.
That thing was powerful, though.
Oh, yeah. But once it gets going, it'll go through walls.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, news, Brian. I don't know if that was news, but it was fun. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at LairFireplacePatio.com. Nuggets beat the Kings 124-116 with the interim coach on the bench, David Adelman. And the Canucks at the Avalanche tonight, Frozen 4 tonight for the DU Pioneers college hockey. And it is round 1 of the Masters this morning. 38 in Thornton, 37 in Englewood, 39 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There will be a mixture of high and mid-level clouds with sunshine, mild temperatures, and some wind today. Northwest winds 15 to 30. Highs near 70, lows tonight mid to upper 30s, still breezy. Winds will ease up, slightly cooler, but sunny, pleasant, mid-60s on Thursday. Then, wow, warming up. 75 to 80 on Friday, 70 Saturday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, where you get to join the conversation. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's go to the phone lines. One of our favorites, Mary from Wyoming. Good morning, Mary.
Yeah, good morning, Mary. And I got a question before we go into, I know you've got an actual real discussion and topic here for us, but beforehand.
Hey, good morning.
Something very important for you, Mary, before we get into what you want to talk about. This is super important. This is something that our listening audience needs to know, and Jeff and I are super curious. So back when you were younger, Mary, did you ever take the cigarette lighter in the car and start it and then touch it? Or what did you burn with it? Did you ever do that dumb thing that us boys did where we touched the glowing little circle thing in the car and hurt ourselves with a cigarette lighter? Or were you too smart for that?
You know, I didn't do that. And I have to chuckle.
Of course you wouldn't.
I didn't do that.
You're way too smart for that. I appreciate you so much, Mary.
But I did have a Pinto that had the cigarette lighter in the ashtray. But I never smoked.
Yeah. So, but even as a
you know
kid,
what would
even
happen?
the kid, you
I
didn't do the
didn't
little
smoke.
thing? You didn't do the push down, because as a kid, you push down the button and it waited there for a minute and then it goes pop and it pops up like some sort of surprise.
Right.
And then you pick it up
It
on the
was
inside. It's
fascinating.
glowing. And you're like, ooh, that's pretty. So you never touched it. You weren't as dumb as we were because I touched it.
No. I did things like put the bobby pin in I was real accident prone.
Ooh.
You know, where you take the bobby pin and put into the electrical outlet. I did that.
Oh, my God.
I did, back in the day, I did the finger in the toothpaste tube. That took me to the hospital, and I couldn't get my finger out.
Nicely done.
I
fantastic.
crunched down. You used to get perfume samples in little glass tubes in the mail.
Yes, you did, yeah.
I crunched down on that. That took me to the hospital.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I chomped on those. Let's see. Yeah, my mom was always not very happy with me.
That is hilarious. I was just jumping off of things and getting hurt. That was what I was thinking. I just had this I had an underdeveloped sense of fear, is what my father always said, because I was jumping off of things and doing things I had no right doing at all. Like, you looked at that and thought that was what you could do, you dum-dum. Yeah, that was pretty much the conversation my father and I had over and over again. I used to jump off the roof of the house, and there were times I would jump off the roof of the house onto a tree that was next to the house. No, I was not an intelligent kid. And yes, I touched the cigarette lighter. I love that. What was the strangest thing that you accidentally swallowed or purposefully swallowed? Just out of curiosity. Like, did you do quarters? Did you do Play-Doh? What'd you eat?
Well, there was the perfume samples.
Yeah, that's what got me to, is perfume samples. That's, oh my gosh.
I thought it was candy, some kind of, I mean, they were little skinny little tubes.
And it was pretty, and they had pretty colors on the inside, so absolutely. Yeah, that's the same reason that I tried, that's the same reason that I tried Play-Doh, because it was pretty colors, and that was wrong. It was way too salty. But anyway, Mary, I'm taking us down a path where we don't need to get there. What do you want to say? What's on your mind this morning?
I was responding to what Jay said. Dodge did find, when they were doing the U.S. Contracts, the NGOs, that many of them started, they would propose these projects. They paid themselves six-figure things. They had boards, and the board members would be earning six figures. Not many. They need to go ahead and prove it still. But legislators were able to put their wives, other individuals on those boards, making that kind of money. That definitely increased their salaries. A good example on how the legislature thing was Kamala Harris. Remember, she was on two boards, the prison and the medical board. Along with being Attorney General, she was able to, that was $250,000 worth of of money that she didn't, and remember, she didn't even go and attend the meetings.
And in fact, you see that, Mary, here in Colorado with Ian Silveri getting big contracts from Jefferson County, a district that his wife, Brittany Pedersen, represents. And that type of kickbacks to spouses and stuff, I think that's very, very worthwhile to look into.
Yeah, and on the same note, as long as when Doge is doing all the investigation, we also know that Elon has canceled the Verizon contract for the FAA and given it to, who was it to? Oh yeah, his own company, Starlink. That's
he canceled it. He's not in office.
Yeah. But he canceled the stuff.
How does he cancel anything?
Well, he's announcing it all the time. He canceled it all the time.
But
on the
I'm
tweets.
just saying,
we've cut this. We cut USAID, USAID, RIP. Yeah. So yes.
It's how you can join the government as a community organizer and walk out a millionaire.
Oh yeah, I absolutely. The rules as far as governing our lawmakers, especially nationally, are crap. Yes, absolutely. But we don't care. We don't care because we allow them to make the rules, and that's it for years and years and years. No, we don't. Because if we did care, Mary, here's the thing: if we cared, we wouldn't vote them back in. But incumbency is the largest indicator of whether or not you will get elected to Congress. And if we cared, we would throw them out. We can yell and scream. You and I can all the time and talk about rules we need to change and everything else. If we cared about their behavior and their actions, we'd simply vote them out. That is the number one tool we have in our toolbox in order to rectify this. But we don't care as an electorate.
I disagree. I think that when Pelosi twice has voted against being able to not be able to do what do you want to call it, stocks and bonds, and exactly what you had said, that, and she will not vote, she will not allow the vote to come and to be voted on.
Yeah. And again, she should be voted out.
Mary, I sure appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We got the House Minority Leader, Rose Pugliese, coming up in just a few minutes. You're not going to want to miss this. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's budget time down at the Colorado State Capitol, and they're just a few weeks away from ending this legislative session. To give us an update is Rose Pugliese. She's the House Minority Leader. That means she's the top Republican in the House of Representatives at the Colorado State Capitol. Minority Leader Pugliese, thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, thank you. Good morning to all of you. It's so good to be here as always.
Well, let's dive into what's happening on the floor today. I think some budget issues, lots of bills still to go through. Give us an update.
Yes. So yesterday, and to be honest with you, this is one of my favorite weeks when we actually delve into what are the state's priorities for taxpayer money. And we get to talk through parts of the budget, what our priorities are as a Republican caucus. We fought for over 12 hours yesterday on the floor, making sure that we can bring forward what's actually in the budget. Where is your money going? And so that was on second reading, which means lots of debate. And then today will be third reading, where we give our 10-minute kind of closer as to what our priorities are as Republicans. And then also, you know, the conversations we had at the door. Affordability, public safety, protecting TABOR, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which we'll talk about in a minute. But those are our priorities, and that's where the budget should go. But just a reminder, Republicans are not in charge.
Yeah, so let's talk about the different priorities. Obviously, the Democrats, as you mentioned, in charge. So where are they putting the $43 billion that's in our budget? Where's it going?
You know, it's going to programs, some good ones. I don't think we're doing enough on the education front. I think, you know, we have a constitutional obligation as a legislature to make sure that education is prioritized in the budget. I don't think we've done that enough. The mantra we've been hearing and will continue to hear, and there's bills on this coming, which I would love to continue to update your listeners about, is attacking the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. We need more money, and I want to be very clear. Colorado does not have a revenue problem. It has a prioritization problem. There's plenty of money in the budget to provide services. We just need, as a legislature, to prioritize where that money should be going. And the Democrats just want to spend more. And regardless, I gave a speech yesterday on the floor. We had done an amendment that said you cannot use state funds to litigate the constitutionality of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. If the Democrats want to do that, go raise the money. I don't support that, but I definitely don't support using taxpayer money when they have consistently throughout the state said the Taxpayer Bill of Rights is something that needs to be protected. Prop HH went down 60-40 despite the Democrats and the governor pushing that forward. We've consistently seen a tax on TABOR. We've consistently seen the people come together and say, no, we want to vote on tax increases. We want to keep our TABOR refunds.
Yeah, that is crazy. I had a conversation yesterday with someone and explained that idea that the Democrats are going to try and use state money to file suit against TABOR, and then we're going to have to spend state money to defend it. So the taxpayers are on the hook for both the plaintiff and the defendant, and regardless of what happens, the Democrats win, because if they're able to strike down TABOR, super win for them and parties in the streets for all the liberals. If they don't get TABOR struck down, they have a new line of attack based on the openings inside of the decision from the court. If the court says we can't do this and this and this, but we can do this, that's what Biden had done with his student loan debt forgiveness. The first one was just a trial balloon to figure out how he can thread the needle. And so this is a win-win for Democrats and a lose-lose for Colorado taxpayers, because we have to foot both bills. It would be like if we had to pay for both the Broncos and the Raiders on the field, that we would be responsible for paying the salaries for both teams. That would be stupid. This is phenomenally ridiculous, and I appreciate you pointing it out.
No, absolutely. We still, obviously it was voted down. We're going to continue to push the message of protecting the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. It's a fundamental issue for our caucus. And getting the people engaged. What we saw on Proposition HH was, all of our grassroots organizers coming together and talking to their friends and neighbors, right? The people who maybe don't come to a town hall at 9 a.m. for Rose Pugliese, or maybe don't even listen to your show, and don't want to be engaged in politics necessarily, but they do care. Colorado is a fiscally conservative state. They do care about being able to feed their families and support their families here in Colorado, and they just can't do it. So this will be a huge issue, I think, at the Capitol over the next couple of weeks.
Now, we're talking with Rose Pugliese. She's the top Republican in the House of Representatives, the House Minority Leader. And, Rose, when I was down, I've been to a lot of these different protests outside the state capitol. The one that kind of struck me was the teachers one. And, look, the teachers all pretty progressive out marching there. And to their point, they kept going, we got to go back and get rid of TABOR. The real problem is funding. We just got to get more money into the state. I'm concerned because it seems like there's a growing progressive Bernie Sanders wing of the Democrat Party that really believes they need to take out TABOR. How do Republicans push back on that and maintain what really is the last kind of essence of sanity that keeps Colorado from becoming Washington, Oregon, and California, which is TABOR? How do we do that?
Well, again, I think it's a lot of education, making sure to educate your listeners so they can go talk to their friends and neighbors. I think, we had such a movement around Proposition HH, and I think people really need to understand that the state is not prioritizing their money in the way that they should. So, two things on that point. One is, the governor really loved the Taxpayer Bill of Rights when he was sending those refund checks. You remember that? That made a lot of sense to him.
Colorado cashback.
But he didn't pronounce it right. It was the cashback. Right? He couldn't say it right. He said cashback. He didn't say cashback. So it is officially the Colorado cashback. You just have to do that, just because that's what he called it. Yeah, the idea that he took the TABOR refund and then put his name on it, signed it, and
looked like you got a check from Jared Polis.
Yes,
while he was running for office. Too,
yeah, that was fantastic. What a pile of crap. I'm sorry. Thank you for that time. Yeah.
Yes. I don't want people to forget that, right? Because it's so easy. We know everyone has short memories, but no one questioned the constitutionality when he was sending refund checks with his name on it. So I want to throw that out there. The other thing that is super offensive and coming next week is a bill you all should be looking at. It's 1321. It's the Speaker's bill, and super disappointed, I'll be honest with you. So basically, instead of prioritizing education, which I will say, right, we should be prioritizing education, radios for law enforcement. There are things in our budget that we could be doing better and different, and that's what we talked about for over 12 hours yesterday. But 1321 basically takes $4 million from the Infrastructure Act money and gives it to the governor's office. Now, okay, so we're taking it from Infrastructure Act money, giving it to the governor's office to fight the federal government when and if the federal government pulls federal dollars for the bad policies the Democrats have employed in Colorado. So look at that logic there. We're continuing to use taxpayer money to fight the feds. But what I thought was most interesting, and we haven't debated it yet, is that it's not going to the Attorney General's office, right? You would think it's the Attorney General. Not that I support this, because I don't. I want to be very clear. But why is it going to the governor's office? So another slush fund of $4 million for the governor's office, as opposed to, I mean, if that's truly their intent, I don't understand why it wouldn't be in the Attorney General's office, although I think the Attorney General has his own slush fund and more than enough money. But stop poking the president in the eye and saying, I'm afraid we're going to lose federal funding, but I'm going to continue to poke the president in the eye so that we lose federal funding so that we can use taxpayer money to go fight the federal government for losing federal funding. I mean, it is this circular, ridiculous conversation, but when the teachers are out there protesting, saying we need more money for education, they are exactly right. That is where we should be prioritizing our money and not using it for, political games.
And it even gets better. I made a video about this. If you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, because the governor's office may seek, accept, or expend gifts, grants, and donations for the purpose of this bill. So they're going to crowdsource from the people of Colorado to this fund, which is then going to go to trial attorneys to sue Donald Trump and try to disrupt his agenda. That's the point. So $4 million already coming from taxpayers, but then they want to create a crowdsourced funding where you can donate in the midst of all the fees you're already paying here in Colorado, your phone registration fees, your delivery fees, your bag fees, all that stuff. They want more money to go sue Donald Trump. And that money's going to trial attorneys that are already pulling in $400,000 a year. I mean, so I made this video, Rose. You've been very busy. It came out last night, but it's like those ASPCA ads where Sarah McLachlan is doing In the Arms of the Angels. You know, and you get these really sad puppies. I used AI, and I have all these very sad trial attorneys that can't pay their yachting fees and need crowdsourced money from the people of Colorado to improve our roads or our schools? No. So they can sue Donald Trump. Welcome to the actual agenda of the Democrats at the Colorado State Capitol.
Absolutely. So instead of putting that money into the proper role of government, infrastructure projects like important water projects in Colorado, road projects in Colorado, the priority for the Democrats is suing the federal government and the Trump administration. So just so that the people understand, when we're talking about that our teachers and our schools don't have enough money, our kids can't read and do math, that's not the priority for Colorado. I just want to be clear, at least according to the Democrats' budget agenda.
We're talking with Rose Pugliese. She's the top Republican in the House of Representatives. All right, so I want to ask you about another nationally controversial bill coming from Colorado. Now, it got through the House, and this is the bill that essentially criminalizes a parent if they misgender their child, or if a business misgenders somebody, they can be brought before the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. This has made a lot of news. It made it through the House, but it seems to have slowed down a little bit in the Senate. Can you give us any insight on that particular bill?
Well, here's another, where is Colorado Democrats' priorities? I'll talk about the parental rights aspect in a second. But basically, we're paying for nose jobs and laser hair removal with taxpayer money in that bill. Or it could be the gender affirming care. So there's two companion bills. But the parental rights, I think, is an incredibly important issue. I think, and we had this conversation, and there was a lot of attention around this, and I know you all talked about it, the non-legal name change bill last year, right, where kids don't need to notify their parents. I think what we're seeing is the Democrats continuously pushing parents out of the way. And saying, you know what, you're my 12-year-old. I mean, I have an almost 14-year-old, and she's, as you can imagine, pretty strong little girl. But I'm still her mother, and I still need to be able to raise her. And what we're seeing is just this consistent attack on parental rights. And I think people are going to push back, though. Parental rights is an issue that transcends party lines. It really does, as well as those fiscal issues do. And whether you're Democrat, unaffiliated, or Republican, I think there's actually more people in this movement saying, whoa, 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 you're taking a step too far. Take your hands off of our kids.
And I mean, the whole nation's paying attention to these bills. So you've got just a few more minutes left. What do we expect in the next few weeks, and how can people be involved in pushing back against this radical leftist agenda?
Well, for sure, these TABOR conversations, it's so funny. I had sent out an alert about the one of the TABOR resolution on challenging the constitutionality to my email group. And there were so many people that came and testified, and they said, thank you for getting us involved. This is the first time I've ever testified at the Capitol. And it just made me stop and think for a minute. Like, people that I would have thought for sure had been down here and for sure been testifying. So I think we need to continue to engage our grassroots, continue to this movement to protect our taxpayer money, to bring affordability and public safety to Colorado again. But we have to get people involved. We can't do it alone. There's 22 of us, and we are fighting as hard as we can. But there's 22 of us, and we need a whole army behind us.
Final question. Any update on the gun bill? Senate Bill 3, is the governor indicated he's going to sign that?
So he hasn't talked to me about it. It's waiting for his signature. I'll be honest with you, just given the votes, I would be very surprised if he didn't. I know there's a lot of people that are still very optimistic. I guess I'm a little more pessimistic on that one, but let's see what he does.
Rose Pugliese, you can get to know her, follow her, support her at roseforcolorado.com. That's roseforcolorado.com. Thanks so much for taking time to update our listeners on what's happening at the state capitol.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys, I want to talk to you about my good friend, Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan Caplis has spent 40 years getting justice for the good people of Colorado. But more than just being a great guy, he's a real winner in the courtroom, and that's what matters, right? Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. In fact, Dan Caplis is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone lines. Neil, Denver. Good morning, Neil. What's on your mind?
Morning.
Oh, good morning. I'm sorry I missed Rose, but here's one of my thoughts on all this is that the Democrats are extremely good at mobilizing, and the Republicans are extremely good at saying we're right and not mobilizing. So the key to all this is doing something, and you get people that are calling in and saying I'm mad as heck.
Yep.
And yeah, you want to vote out the bad person and vote in a good person, but that's got issues too. So I'll ask you, Jeff, like in the last major election, gubernatorial elections, Secretary of State, why didn't the Republicans win? And we'll share thoughts about that.
Well, part of it's demographics, but I'll tell you this, Neil, to your point, Democrats put all their energy into the government. It's their one solution to all the problems. Meanwhile, conservatives, we got families, we got churches, we got sports, we got all the stuff that building businesses. We're just really busy. That's just one of the aspects. We'll get to more of it. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 10th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. This hour, I want to get into the Trump tariff change that took place. Did Donald Trump blink? Or is this just master negotiator at work? What do you think? I want to get into all of this. Big changes, big gains in the stock market that took place yesterday. It was wild. Donald Trump saying he's not going to back down on tariffs, but then saying, I might negotiate with a bunch of these countries. Was this the game plan all along? What about bringing manufacturing back to America? I want to get your thoughts on this. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Is globalism back? Did Donald Trump blink, or was he just a master negotiator and all these companies will still come back? But now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. 39 and sunny on this Thursday in Denver, expecting a high of 69 today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story just minutes ago, DJT posted on True Social that inflation is down. And he also posted that no more sanctuary cities. They protect the criminals, not the victims. They are disgracing our country and are being mocked all over the world, working on papers to withhold all federal funding for any city or state that allows these death traps to exist. Also this morning, State House Minority Leader Rose Pugliese on with Jeff and Billy last hour. This is one of her favorite weeks when lawmakers talk about Colorado's priorities. $43 billion in our state's budget. And she says we don't have the revenue problem. We have a prioritization problem, but Democrats want to keep on spending money.
But I definitely don't support using taxpayer money when they have consistently throughout the state said the Taxpayer Bill of Rights is something that needs to be protected. Prop HH went down 60-40 despite the Democrats and the governor pushing that forward. We have consistently seen attacks on TABOR. We have consistently seen the people come together and say, no, we want to vote on tax increases. We want to keep our TABOR refunds.
Pugliese discussed numerous bills and also said we may still have a chance against that insane bill that rips all the rights away from parents who have a child who wants to mutilate their body. And the parents have no say. So even some lefties thinking, you know what, maybe we're going too far. Well, that's good news. As investors wait for what Wall Street has in store today, a day after 47 announced a pause on some global tariffs, there's word that inflation eased a bit in March. The Labor Department says the Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of the cost of goods and services, dropped 0.1%, putting year-over-year inflation at 2.4%. Analysts had forecast inflation to come in at 2.6%. And once again, DJT just posting inflation is down. House Republicans trying to limit the power federal judges have to issue nationwide injunctions. GOP lawmakers passed a bill Wednesday, mostly along party lines, that would make it so judges can only provide orders that apply to the parties directly involved in a case, except in certain situations. The bill now moves to the Senate, where it has little chance of passing. A group of protesters is suing Denver's Auraria campus over how the police treated them last year. The lawsuit filed Wednesday claims the constitutional rights of the group were violated when they were arrested during a pro-Hamas protest last April. You remember all of those. going on campus. Civil rights attorney Azra Taslimi.
They were engaged in First Amendment protected speech. They were not violent. They did not block buildings. They did not disrupt campus operations.
Students and faculty members reportedly tried to keep police away from a tent encampment on campus, leading to more than 36 arrests. The lawsuit names the area campus police chief and 6 officers and seeks unspecified damages. Around 600 pounds of pot was stolen from a secured Colorado State Patrol evidence trailer in Arapahoe County. CSP Chief Colonel Matthew Packard says this has never happened before, forcing CSP to take steps to make sure it doesn't happen again.
We missed the boat here. We could have done a better job to secure that. And so not only are we interested in recovering what we can and holding folks accountable, we need to hold ourselves accountable as well.
Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
Well, commercialized pot's never going to work. It's never going to work because you have people just growing it. In this case, 600 pounds, 60 pounds? 600
pounds.
600 pounds of marijuana? Just grow it. We've already commercialized it. You can go to a store and buy it, and these guys are picking up 600 pounds. That's why the commercialization experiment's never going to work in this state, because it's regulated, it's taxed, it drives up the price of it, and you can grow it in your backyard.
That's right. I agree. Go do something about it. Right now, Jeff, let's go. Let's see. There are suspects in that case, and, we know that they may be driving a 1995 to 2005 light-colored Chevrolet Silverado extended cab and a 2007 white Honda CR-V, possible vehicles that they are looking for. No ongoing cases are impacted by the burglary. Anyone with information is asked to contact authorities.
What's the over-under on their legal status?
I was thinking that same thing. I would say 90%. How about
you think so? I'm going 60%. I'm like
really?
60% illegal. Because we got some gangbangers that are natives here, but
that's true.
You know,
that is true. That'll be interesting to see. Hopefully they catch him. 47 has signed an executive order to make America's showers great again. Trump signed the order to roll back water pressure regulations enforced by former President Biden and Obama that limit the flow from a shower head. The White House says the executive order will end the Obama-Biden war on water pressure.
You wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. It's the same water.
I love
Is that real?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gosh, give this guy a third term just because he's entertaining. There's nobody else like that.
No.
Nobody else like that. That is hilarious.
And he keeps on getting better and better.
Yes,
man.
He does.
He really does. He's learning more how to close it. After when he gets the laugh.
Yeah,
how to just cut it off and just let the laugh carry on. In his first term, I think he carried on a little too. I mean, he had people rolling, and then he would continue a few things, but he knows where to cut it off now. It's awesome. It's awesome. Let's see. The Nuggets beat the Kings 124-116 with the new interim head coach David Adelman winning his first game. The Canucks and the Avalanche tonight. Frozen Four college hockey this evening for the DU Pioneers taking on the Western Michigan Broncos. And it is round one this morning at Augusta. The Masters. You know that spring has sprung and the grass has riz. Does anybody know what time it is? It is time for golf and all types of stuff. So good news. 38 in Thornton, and 37 in Englewood, 39 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
something about you two. I don't know what it is. I mean, I woke up one day and it's like, wait a minute, this little son of a is entertaining as hell.
Thank you
and
so much.
even though he's full of crap,
I deserve that.
It's just the way he's wired. I mean, you guys work good together.
Holy Toledo.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
There will be a mixture of high and mid-level clouds with sunshine, mild temperatures, and some wind today. Northwest winds 15 to 30. Highs near 70, lows tonight mid to upper 30s, still breezy. Winds will ease up, slightly cooler, but sunny, pleasant, mid-60s on Thursday. Then, wow, warming up. 75 to 80 on Friday, 70 Saturday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. You know, Blake knew that Barney was coming up. Barney's going to be our very next caller, but first, you and I are going to spend some time talking about Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Now, this is important to me because ignoring a problem doesn't fix the problem. We had Rose Pugliese talking about trying to fix problems with the Colorado budget on last hour, and here I'm talking about diabetic ulcers, pressure sores, slow healing cuts. That little problem can become a very big deal. I saw it in my own life with my aunt. She had a chronic wound on her leg, developed MRSA because they weren't treating the wound, they were maintaining the wound, meaning her torn skin and tissue was just the perfect place for MRSA to get access to her body. She spent time in the hospital and ended up with some amputations. Jennifer Walker, who founded Wound Care Associates of Colorado, had the same experience in her life, but her uncle lost his life because of a small cut on his toe that didn't get the proper medical attention. He had some other comorbidities, diabetes, neuropathy, some other stuff, but it was the small cut on the toe that became infected that ended up taking his life. That's why you don't mess around with this. Recently, youngest kid in my family had some surgery and the wound wasn't closing the way that we wanted to. It wasn't healing. As soon as the surgeon recommended maintaining the wound, like, yeah, doc, we're done here. I made a phone call and an appointment with Wound Care Associates of Colorado. How did I do it? ColoradoWound.com. ColoradoWound.com. Why did I do it? Because they're doing it better than anybody else here in the state. First of all, they prioritize faster healing outcomes. It's a fancy way of saying we want the cut to heal. No more of this maintenance BS. We want to make sure that your tissue and skin heal to keep the bad dirt, germs, and bacteria out. Makes sense, doesn't it? Yes. But not everybody does it this way. Also, they're going old school. They give you concierge service without concierge pricing. You get a house call. For you or someone in your family has that chronic wound, you don't have to worry about making an appointment, the transportation, getting to the office, waiting in the waiting room, getting back up. No, they come to you. All of that stress, all that worry about the transportation time and sitting there, maybe with your open wound, getting exposed to other dirt and germs, that's all gone because they come to you. And they set up a private treatment plan. Their wound-certified nurse practitioner can write all the orders, do all the changes necessary, and make sure you get top-notch care. Okay? Top-notch care, faster healing, and at your convenience. Nobody else does it this way. There's only one group you can deal with if you or someone in your family has a chronic wound, a slow healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore. They even go to assisted living and retirement communities. You've got someone in your family that it's hard getting to their community. Maybe they're even a little bit of a drive away. Maybe it doesn't work with your schedule. You can't take time out of your day to get your loved one to the appointment that they need to get to. The Wound Care Associates of Colorado have taken away that stress. They come to your loved one where they are, set up the treatment plan, and make sure it heals faster and better than anybody else out there. There's no other choice. You don't need to make another phone call. You don't need to make another contact. If someone in your life is dealing with this, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. When it was an issue in my life, I wish I could have done it for my aunt. They weren't around. But when it became an issue with my kid, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. ColoradoWound.com, ColoradoWound.com. I trust them. You can trust them as well. They're the best doing it right now in Colorado. Don't mess around with the others. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. ColoradoWound.com, ColoradoWound.com. And when you reach out to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show because it helps us out. Back to you, Jeff.
That's great to hear, Bill. Let's get to Barney. We love it when Barney calls in.
Love Barney.
Barney, welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. What's on your mind?
Morning, but I've heard my voice. It's you guys really are. Let me call in and listen to that crap. I don't know, man. You're really risking the. But let's go to the Billy haters, the Billy Thorpe haters.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you listen to the way Billy responded with Rose, by the way, I love Rose. You got to give him credit, Billy. But when is Blake ever going to come out and remember what Dan Aykroyd used to say to Jane Curtin? You remember that one?
No.
Jane, you ignorant. Can't say the other word.
There you go.
I just wait for Blake to come out and say that to you, Jeff, or Billy. I mean, then I'll laugh. Then
I love that line. That is one of my favorite lines. It is fantastic.
Oh
yes.
my God. Yeah, that was back when SNL was fun.
Yes. Yeah, when they were really pushing boundaries, when they were really trying to be edgy for the point of gathering an audience because they were going to push the boundaries. They don't do it anymore.
And they went after everybody. It didn't matter.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. So anyway, the Donald Trump stuff, and I'm not saying I'm an expert on Donald Trump, but like with the Canada thing and the Greenland thing, if people can't figure out when he's jerking your chain already, and I just knew when this tariff thing started, I don't understand all of tariffs. I know it's a pretty complicated issue, but when Adam Schiff is saying, you got to get rid of tariffs, blah, 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 and now Trump gets rid of tariffs and he doesn't know what to do, he's jerking your flipping chain, and he's going to win. I don't know. I don't think it's Blinken. I don't think it's anything. He just really knows how to jerk your chain.
But Barney, I want to ask you because I feel a little let down. You know how big of a Trump fan I am. I want the manufacturing back in America.
No. It's coming, Jeff.
You think so? Gosh,
no,
man, it feels
coming,
like...
Buddy. No. It's coming, buddy. It's coming. There's a lot. The Gates Rubber Company used to be here. You remember that?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if you were probably in diapers then. But
I was.
I remember them saying to me when I delivered there, they said, look, this is going to be the last raw rubber plant in the States. And when it goes, it's gone. But it's coming back. It's got to come back. And
But how does he do that? It seems like we were driving Monday, Tuesday, saying I'm not blinking. These tariffs are across the board. Wednesday morning, I'm not blinking. These tariffs are across the board. And I'm like, all right, it's going to be a little painful, but it's going to take that to get these manufacturers back. And then Wednesday afternoon, well, on a bunch of these states or a bunch of these countries, we're going to negotiate. And it just feels like he went out there to challenge the globalists. The bond market started to look bad, and now we're dancing with the globalists again.
Nope. Listen, they're not going to be able to fill the Vietnam, India, all of these countries. Not in the next 10 years are going to be able to fill the void if we really stick it to China. Bottom line is, we're going to get a lot of that back. I'm not sucking up. I'm not a Trump sucker. I love Trump, but I'm not a Trump suck up. I'm telling you, it's going to work. And Walmart is the one that needs to be squealing. Well, honestly, I don't go to Walmart for anything. So all of you that do, you might have to go somewhere else. But Walmart, I think, will be the biggest hit by the China ban. But I'm telling you, just look at Jeff. Sit back and write it out, okay? Just sit back. We're going to be
by
the way, our Governor Pugliese, I told you, like he's going to listen to me, you touch that gun bill, which I'm really not worried about it because we're going to do whatever we want in Colorado. I'm going to keep my 30-round magazines because I'm a lousy shot, and I need 30 rounds to kill a deer. But Billy Pugliese, you touch that gun bill and you go off on this trans bill, I'm telling you, you've got no chance, which he would have whoever runs against J.D. Vance will have a shot because J.D. is not real aggressive. So you get I don't think the pretty boy from California has a shot. Pugliese is not the slimy-looking used car salesman. He's got a shot. But, I don't care about this crap. I don't have kids in school anymore. But bottom line is, Pugliese, you better listen. Stay away from the gun bill. I'm not going to vote for you anyway, but stay away from the gun bill and stay away from the tranny crap, or you don't stand a chance. But, Billy, I still love you.
Thanks, Barney. Now, here's the thing is I think Polis's play is going to be to not sign either bill and let it sit on his desk because there's a law in Colorado that if it sits there for 10 days, it automatically becomes law. So what it does is it gives him plausible deniability. I think that's his strategy because that won't be exposed on the national stage. He will get to say, I never signed it, and it's up to his opponent to point out what happened in Colorado law and the actions that he took. And I think he's going to bet on the fact that his opponents won't know that and won't care.
Agreed. But Billy, I'm telling you, voters are smarter this time around. I don't think he's going to get away with that.
I just want to hold on to the joy and hope of Barney saying smart voters, because boy, I would love to have that, my friend. I would love to have that.
Can I just remind everybody that Jenna Griswold just broke all fundraising records
from the smart voters
in the state.
185,025. And by the way, Billy, I'm a voter too. Remember that.
Yep, I know. And it should scare everybody that listens to the show on a regular basis that I get to vote as well. It should really scare everybody.
Barney, any chance?
What?
Any chance we could get you to swing by IHOP next Wednesday and come take a picture with Bill and I?
You know what? I thought about doing that one the last time you guys, and I thought they'd probably kick me out. But let's see, Wednesday. You know what? I started it. You know what? You get the details out there, and maybe we can make it happen.
If it works in there, we're going to be in Belmar, so it's basically Wadsworth, Alameda. We'll be there during the show. If you can swing by, even for a cup of coffee, we'll do whatever we can. Take pictures with you. We'd love to see you, man.
Barney.
If it works on your schedule.
I'm not the man, Jeff. I'm not the man I used to be, but I still would not want Billy humping my leg. Would you promise me, Billy?
Well, see, the thing is, Barney, that I only do that to people that ask pretty please at the remotes. So unless you do that, we're not going to, Barney, if it works in your schedule, my man, if it works in your schedule.
You're going to be a big, fat disappointment when you meet me, I promise.
No, I'm already a big, fat disappointment. Every time my wife looks at me, she's like, I'm stuck with this. And I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, you're stuck with this. Yes.
Barney, great call.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
have a great day.
it, brother. Have a great day. Barney's line will be open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Want to talk to you about our friends with the Art of Granite. I've gotten to know Mitch Floria, and he is just fantastic. He's with us on all the values right there. He's got a Constitution, Declaration of Independence hanging in his own office there. Reminds him every day what he's working for and what he's defending. Look, if you need your kitchen or bathroom remodeled, you got to call the Art of Granite with Mitch Floria. Number one reason, quality craftsmanship. Mitch is such an expert and craftsman that he can turn granite, quartz, marble, and other materials into a true work of art right in your home. Number two, superior service. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team's attention to details unmatched. They will listen to you and get you what you need. Number three, great value. Mitch provides granite from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices. It's right off of 6th Avenue and I-70 as you're kind of heading up into the mountains there. And I've gone and it's like a maze of all of this amazing quartz, marble, granite. So you can walk right, pick the one that's going to be best for your home, and then he'll go to work. Listen to this. All you got to do is mention KNUS, and you'll receive a bathroom countertop free when you purchase your fantastic new kitchen countertops. You can also get a kitchen or bathroom sink free when you purchase any countertop package. All you got to do is schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West, or call Mitch at 303-386-5919. That's 303-386-5919, or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com to start dreaming about your new countertops. That's theartofgranite.com. All right, Bill, let's go back to the phone lines. Tony Littleton, you want to talk tariffs?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
It just felt like I should call in. It seems like the day after 9/11. You know, 2 big buildings get knocked down and 3,000 people die, and it feels like you guys are talking about if the book George Bush was reading to the 3rd graders was too woke. Yesterday was an inflection point for Trump's administration, and it seems like that somehow has been missed. Him backing off of those tariffs is hugely significant, and I know he's presenting it as part of the strategy. It was far from that. You know, in the preceding couple days, he lost 7 senators that have now moved against him on tariffs, and that's an issue. Elon Musk and his brother coming out and calling Peter Navarro a moron, which is just a whisker from calling Trump a moron. And you probably heard that the economist that Peter Navarro has been referring to all these years in all his books is merely an anagram of his own name. There is no economist behind his theory. And then the market plummeting the way it has. And then you, on top of that, you get the Fed, JP Morgan Chase, all kinds of economists coming out saying, we are going into a recession. And if we go into a recession, even slide into a recession, and maybe stagflation, that means that Europe and Japan and South Korea, they dive into a recession, as the saying goes. When we sneeze, they catch a cold. And all that was stacked up. And then at about 3 o'clock yesterday morning, and I don't know if they woke the president or it's merely his advisors were getting word, they couldn't sell U.S. debt. For the first time in history, couldn't sell U.S. debt from the European markets that had opened up. That spooked everybody, and it still got everybody spooked because they don't know what that means. But later in the day, he would then pull off those tariffs for 90 days. I'm going to go out on a limb. I told you weeks ago he'd never do it because Smoot-Hawley, the history of Smoot-Hawley, and for your audience, they can go do a deep dive into Wikipedia and read one or two paragraphs, and they'll understand why that got in his way. The markets now are spooked, and we're on the verge of this of a recession. So he's now had to step back, pull back his tariffs, and it's not for 90 days. They're never coming back. He is not going to do that. If he pulls that back out of the hat, he'll get the same exact response that he got now. So that whole path is gone.
Wall Street Journal saying this episode was classic Trump. He took a drastic action, closely tracked the reaction, kept advisors and allies guessing, and then changed course.
You understand that although this is not like buying a building, he's now the reason why it's not even over, we're just still at the beginning. We're still in the problem. Every major manufacturer, every major company right now in this country, as well as other countries, they don't even know how to invest because they don't know if there's going to be a tariff today, a tariff tomorrow, a tariff from 90 days. So they can't even make investments. You can't build plants. You can't take loans. You can't do anything. The economy is slowing down. And while he's out there still trying to save face, well, I may do it, I may not. He needs to do something with certainty and quick.
Tony,
Do you
want to go back to kind of global trade prior to Trump?
You know what? Go back. That's not even the right statement. I want to lose? The right statement is: do we want to lose our power and influence on the global stage? He inherited. On the day he was elected, The Economist, the right-leaning magazine, said Donald Trump inherits the U.S. economy, the best in the world. That's what he got on day one, and in less than 90 days, he's now moved us toward. Nobody was even hinting at recession then, and now we've got all these entities saying we're well over 50% chance we're going into a recession.
I don't think anybody disagrees with you that there's major changes taking place in our economy, and a lot of us are willing to go through that. Pete Boyles and I talked about it yesterday on the show, that we have serious problems with our economy. Yeah, it might be number one in the nation with $36 trillion in debt. We've had millions of manufacturing jobs leave this country. And what do we have in exchange for it? A bunch of cheap Chinese crap. So, I mean, help me understand, Tony, how do you deal with China? They're manipulating their currency. They're pouring money into their own steel production, so it's artificially driving down the prices. The government is. So, and then you essentially have slave labor. So what would you do, Tony? I give you the magic wand to be president of the United States. What do you do with China?
The best thing we could have done was bond with our allies, Canada, Europe, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and come up with a joint plan against China if we deemed it as bad as you've described it, which it's actually not. But if it were as bad as you've described it, that's what you do. But here's our problem. We don't have those allies anymore. You heard our number one ally, who shares a 1,000-mile border, say to the world, our relationship with the United States based on trust, trade, and mutual security is over. And if our Canada will say that about us, you know that Europe, their angst against us is even greater, and the same with Japan and same with South Korea. They're just not saying it out loud. Here's our problem. China, I told you weeks ago, we have walked away, created a power vacuum, and China may step in and fill that. Well, in that time, I haven't talked to you for several weeks about this. In that time, they have met with Japan, they have met with South Korea, they have met with Brussels in Europe. They're trying to come up with, I think they're trying to come up with something like a free trade zone among all our allies. And we can do whatever we want to do, but they're going to create something that looks like a free trade zone, and we're going to be sitting on the outside of it.
Yeah,
on top of it,
Tony, to me, you're still not solving any of the problems, right? We have lost manufacturing jobs in this country.
Listen, we don't want to be 19. All right, let me answer. We don't want to be 1940s and be producing T-shirts and sneakers and doorknobs. We are our economy is more advanced. Our skill, what we have, our services, our financial services.
You got two options in this world right now. If you're an American, you can hopefully become a lawyer or a doctor, or you end up driving for Amazon. There's no other options in this country, and that's got to be addressed. And the hope that we can just go establish allied partnerships with other countries and it'll fix that while China's out there.
The manufacturing jobs
system
that we have in this country. The tariffs are destroying the manufacturing jobs, which is our auto industry, which is not the U.S. auto industry, right? It's the North American auto industry now. It's integrated. And so those tariffs were destroying. That was going to cost us manufacturing jobs, not gain us manufacturing jobs.
One more. The manufacturing taking place across the border in Mexico.
Biden had it exactly right. If you want manufacturing jobs, Biden set the template for you. Biden said, we want to produce chips. We don't want to be dependent on the outside, just like you're saying. We don't want to be dependent on China, right? So what do you do if you want to do that? Well, first you begin by before you set up tariffs and block chips, you have to build the plants. Once you build the plants, they're up and running, then you can erect strategic tariffs against chips, because you can produce your own. What Trump basically did is said, we're going to put tariffs up against everything, and it could take decades to build these plants to create these jobs. And in the interim,
I mean, all I hear again is just keep things going the way they are. I think there's real problems.
I didn't say you have to keep things going the way they are.
But if
you
you're
just
going to
had
go,
the wrong
it's going to take 10 years. It's going to take 15 years. We're always going to get to it.
You know what? It took 30 years to unwind from Smoot-Hawley. It takes time. This stuff is not overnight.
Trump was trying to do that. We got to get to a break. I appreciate the call today. That was a fun conversation. Tony's line will be open 303-696-1971. I don't know, guys. I mean, Tony seems like a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking to me, going, I told you this was going to happen, all that. But when you're pressed on what do you actually do to address the issues, it's kind of get back into global trade, that type of thing. I'm happy to take other calls, though. 303-696-1971. I appreciated what Donald Trump was willing to do. I sure hope this isn't blinking. I don't want to go back to kind of the globalist issues. Peter and I talked about it yesterday. I think we have real challenges in our economy right now. And we're so consumer-based that, and I saw it the other day when we went to go buy a pizza. 15 Uber drivers, Uber Eats drivers, waiting for pizzas to take out. Like that's where jobs are right now. You just drive and deliver products. And I think there's a real challenge to our economy with that. And I want to see changes take place, and it might be a little painful. Press on, President Trump. That's my thoughts. All right, we'll get to full phone lines. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Is Donald Trump backtracking on his tariffs? Did he blink? This is classic Trump negotiations. Do you want him to go all the way? Keep going. We need a bypass surgery on our economy. It's going to be a little painful. That's what we're talking about this morning. Let's go to the phone lines. Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
Billy. Hi. I did say we would be in a bad situation for the first year. Why? Because the pain has to come. All these people that had the sugar high from investing in China, you can hear them in their voice. Oh, we got scraped buying the big seven and all of the NASDAQ stocks that they loaded up on and all the sugar stocks that loaded Wall Street and also our politicians' pockets. Notice the Republicans that are invested like Mitch McConnell. China, Mitch. Way to go, Mitch. Sold us to the Chinese and now you're hurting. No wonder your votes flipped. And look at all these people saying, their 401s are cut in half. Of course, when you invested in all that plastic junk for the last 50 years and making it and destroying America's economy, here's a little insight for you. Get in your car and drive around all of America into the small towns. Stay out of these big towns unless you want to see the homeless, and just look what it did to these places. Go through the Scrantons. Go through the Lymans. To go through the Platteville's and see what's going on in America, instead of your high rises or your big city condos and stuff in Littleton or in Highlands Ranch. Drive around and actually see what's going on. Where are the jobs? Oh, yeah, they're all across seas, and you can all invest in China. Well, some of us didn't want to invest in the communists. We wanted to invest in American strength. You know that picture of the woman with the arm? We wanted her. We wanted her making stuff or getting a decent job, not kowtowing to the commies. Now we're driving around, Ubering, and working at McDonald's. And then we have to finance the meal to get it to our kids because we don't have enough on-hand cash. It's got to end.
So got a question for you, Joe. When Donald Trump was running for office, was this his promise that he said to the American people?
Absolutely. We all knew it.
Hang on a sec,
See,
Joe.
here's the thing.
Wait, no,
Everyone
Joe.
that watched...
No, wait, stop, Joe. Stop for a sec. Stop. We're going to explore this together. Stop for a sec, please. Because when I heard Donald Trump on the campaign trail, he talked about immediately lowering prices. Within the first day, he was going to lower prices for everybody. And then he was going to usher in this great era of American wealth. What I did not hear from him is this was going to be accomplished by devaluating your 401ks and investments. This was going to be accomplished.
You didn't listen.
No, I did listen. It's my job. I had to.
No, you didn't.
I had to.
Let me tell you where you needed to listen.
No, Joe, when did he talk about the pain that we were going to have to?
I'm going to tell you.
Oh, good. Yes, when did he talk about the pain? Please tell me. Outline that for me.
The whole cabinet explained it to you. Russ Vogt, Scott Besson, they explained it to you on War Room.
Excuse me.
You didn't pay any attention. You were listening to MSNBC and CNBC. You didn't listen to Scott Besson and Russ Vogt because you thought they were going to lose. But we did, and they told us exactly what was going to happen.
Last time I checked, bro, they weren't elected nor appointed to anything. They were dudes that were finance guys talking about stuff. That is not the Trump campaign. You're avoiding my question. You're avoiding my question, Joe. I asked where Trump talked about this, not people that were sitting on the sidelines during the campaign and then got placed in the administration later on because they carried water. Where in the case. Where in the Trump campaign do you talk about this? Nope, Joe, you're going to get another chance here. Nope, Joe, no. You're going to get another chance here. Where and when did Donald Trump outline and describe this? Now, again, we're just talking. You're not listening. Where and when did Donald Trump outline that this was the pain that was going to be inflicted on the economy, that we were going to have a short period of a reset, that we were going to have pain, that the prices you were going to pay for the stuff that you buy was going to increase? Where did he talk about the fact that your 401k was going to take a bath for a little while? Where did he outline that? Because I remember him saying, we're going to lower prices and make it more affordable on day one. And that is not what has happened. Nor are these tariffs. You're still, no, Joe, I'm sorry. I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
Let him answer. Oh,
no.
Joe Gunn, you weren't even going to let him answer the question.
Because I keep coming back to him and he's just blah, 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 and he keeps going. He's just making speeches on the other side. No, we need to have a conversation. I listened to him. I asked him questions, and he went off and he went in a direction, and I understood that. And then I asked a question, and he just keeps going. If we can't have a conversation, if it's just the Jeff and Bill make a speech show, go right ahead.
All right.
We'll just have speeches. But we got to have a conversation. I love Joe, but we got to have a conversation.
Joe's line's open, 303-696-1971. I want to talk to you about our friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun, but the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture. And I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture always have conservation, efficiency, and reuse top of mind when it comes to water use. As the metro area continues to grow, Colorado Farm Bureau leads talks with state policymakers about preserving water for all areas of the state as pressure on the water system grows. It's going to take all of us to find a solution. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation, water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join them. All right, we'll get to Frank. Steve, we got lots of calls coming. The debate will continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's a spicy morning on the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Trump tariffs. Did Trump blink, or is this part of the negotiation process? Let's go to the phone lines. Frank in Denver. Good morning, Frank. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Morning, guys. As usual, the emotional argument doesn't seem to win on either side, Tony or Joe. But I look at this in different ways. I'm afraid Trump was elected to do what he had to do. You go back historically, in the 70s, Nixon took us to China. Then they started making a lot of stuff for us. People in America started enjoying it. In the Clinton era, we had NAFTA, took jobs away, depleted our country, rode high, and to some degree are still riding somewhat high on our riches, but it's starting to get to be a painful point. I think the Chinese people are good, hardworking people, but their leaders have taken our Beanie Baby money and are now making battleships. We can't ignore that forever. And on a more serious note, that's an existential threat. An internal, more perhaps dangerous existential threat is the left, represented by the Democrats, who want to tear down and reshape and rebuild what has worked for 250 years. So those are the arguments, I think, that should be on the table, rather than descending into Trump hatred on one side versus Trump super love, can do no wrong on the other side. Let's look at what works for the future.
Now, let's talk about that just for an idea of what works for the future. You outlined the idea of trade with China and the fact that we had been taking the Beanie Baby money, and I like that, and turning into battleship money. I like that line. That's a good one. What do you do with the fact that during the first term, one of the first things that Donald Trump did out of the gate was to cancel the TPP partnership, which basically was an anybody but China trade agreement in that part of the world, and the U.S. pulled out? Wouldn't that trade agreement have accomplished in part what we are hoping to do, to isolate China from other trading partners and encourage trade and development that could help America in that region?
That would be the idealistic argument, but it never happens. I look at Trump. I think he's very smart, and he is becoming more of a politician. But in the end, he is only a tool. He's a tool of the more conservative movement, and what has to be done.
That's what I'm worried about, is that he's a tool of it because he pulled us out of the TPP. It never got a chance to work, and that's the issue. We didn't even know if it worked or not.
All right, phone lines are open. Call in to debate. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader. We are KNUS.
It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 10th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710. KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up in the greatest country in history. You're waking up in the greatest state in the country. That's a question I have for you, because Donald Trump's looking to cut funding, at least from some states, like Maine, for their commitment to transgenderism. Do you think that pulled funding should come to Colorado as well? And should politicians in Colorado get in line with the Trump agenda or sue him over it? They're willing to spend $4 million of your money so far on these lawsuits and are asking for more of it. So we'll get into this and more this hour. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning, 49 and sunny on Thursday. Blake Olson here in Denver, expecting a high of 69 today. I was looking at something else, of course. I got messed up there. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
You got the market seeing your brilliance. So.
Yeah, that's up almost 7 points. 2,500 points. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's going to be a record.
Amazing. Yeah. You make an announcement the next time.
DJT talking to John Barrasso there. You may have heard that. Barrasso of Wyoming Wednesday about the market. Wall Street is seeing stocks fall this morning, one day after 47 announced a pause on some tariffs. The announcement caused a huge rally on Wall Street Wednesday, with the S&P 500 having its third largest gain in one day since World War II. Meanwhile, the latest consumer price index showed inflation eased in March. What? Listen to this one. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer was in the Oval Office Wednesday and agrees with 47.
I understand the motivation behind the tariffs. And I can tell you, here's where President Trump and I do agree. We do need to make more stuff in America. More cars and chips. More steel and ships. We do need fair trade.
That's right. She knows where the wind's blowing and which way it's blowing. The unelected European Union is following DJT in pausing reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. Wednesday, the EU voted in favor of a package that was meant to respond to U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum that were put in place last month. The EU's retaliatory tariffs were meant to go into effect on April 15th. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Republicans have enough votes to pass their budget bill. This comes after Johnson canceled a vote Wednesday after at least a dozen Republicans had planned to vote no. The measure, which already passed in the Senate, calls for tax cuts, an increase in immigration enforcement, spending on defense, and raising the debt limit. State House Minority Leader Rose Pugliese on with Jeff and Billy this morning, and this is one of her favorite weeks when lawmakers talk about Colorado's priorities. A huge budget, $43 billion, and she says we don't have a revenue problem, we have a prioritization problem, but Democrats want to keep spending money.
But I definitely don't support using taxpayer money when they have consistently throughout the state said the taxpayer Bill of Rights is something that needs to be protected. Prop HH went down 60-40 despite the Democrats and the governor pushing that forward. We've consistently seen attacks on TABOR. We've consistently seen the people come together and say, no, we want to vote on tax increases. We want to keep our TABOR refunds.
Pugliese talked about numerous bills and said we may still have a chance against that insane, satanic misgendering bill that rips the rights away from parents. keep praying about that one. A group of protesters is suing Denver's Auraria campus over how the police treated them last year. The lawsuit filed Wednesday claims the constitutional rights of the group were violated when they were arrested during a pro-Hamas protest last April. Civil rights attorney Azra Teslimi.
They were engaged in First Amendment protected speech. They were not violent. They did not block buildings. They did not disrupt campus operations.
Students,
yeah, they did. Didn't they
yes,
put
they
zip
did.
ties?
I thought they got in a little fight, didn't they?
Yeah, and I thought I remember them doing zip ties, too, on some of the doors in the Tivoli building.
That's right. I forgot about that one. And I knew there was some type of altercation. I don't know. And they left the place a mess.
All right, so
I know that.
yeah, so tomorrow, if you want to go see a peaceful protest, go to the March for Life, which will be tomorrow at the Colorado State Capitol. All right, it's mostly kids from Catholic high schools, and it's like literally the most joyous human rights celebration you'll see. They all love babies. They all love marriage and the idea of building families. They walk around. They sing hymns. That's a peaceful.
That's what you
that's
call
a peaceful protest, right? In a state where they have no power, and we're the most radical pro-abortion state probably in the country. All right, so they're going to show up. Are they going to have signs with expletives? No. Are they going to chant curse words and scream at the top of the? No.
No.
And on a life and death issue,
F-bombs.
right? No, on a life and death issue, they're going to show up and walk and pray and sing and be joyful. You will see more smiles down there than at any other protest. That's what a peaceful protest looks like.
That's
what
right.
happened at Auraria campus was not peaceful.
So what we need is the left's version of you going out there and getting video and interviews and see.
Well, I'm going to go down. I'm going to talk to folks, and then I know there's a counter protest that the leftists are going to do down there, and there's always somebody who's like, you know what I'm going to do today in a state where we have totally unrestricted abortion? Go down and yell at the pro-life kids.
Oh, right.
There's always there's like handful of folks that show up for that, and I'll be there to talk to them as well as
great weather. You'll have fun.
Oh yeah, as well as cover the good, the nice kids. I mean, these kids are great.
No, they're awesome.
Yeah.
They really are. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Yes.
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hey, around 600 pounds of pot was stolen from a secured Colorado State Patrol evidence trailer in Arapahoe County. If you haven't heard this story, CSP Chief Colonel Matthew Packard says this has never happened before, forcing CSP to take steps to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Now, they are looking for a 1995 to 2005 light-colored Chevrolet Silverado extended cab and a 2007 white Honda CR-V. Anyone with information is asked to contact authorities.
We missed the boat here. We could have done a better job to secure that. And so not only are we interested in recovering what we can and holding folks accountable, we need to hold ourselves accountable as well.
All right, some phrases are being banned by the judge in the Brian Kohberger murder trial. Kohberger is accused of killing the 4 University of Idaho students. Judge Stephen Hippler said that he didn't want police phraseology, but did agree. Didn't want police phraseology, but did agree that psychopath and sociopath cannot be used. I think you're a psychopath or a sociopath if you murder 4 people, but what do I know? Nuggets beat the Kings 124-116 with the new interim head coach, David Adelman, winning his first game. NHL tonight, the Avalanche take on the Canucks. And college hockey this evening, Denver, the Pioneers, open the Frozen Four with Western Michigan this evening. And the Masters underway at Augusta this morning for the first round. 48 in Lone Tree, 47 in Centennial, and 49 in Denver.
Remember what Dan Aykroyd used to say to Jane Curtin? Jane, you ignorant. Just wait for Blake to come out and say that to you, Jeff, or Billy.
Okay, Billy, you ignorant slut. I'm glad he remembered that. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
There will be a mixture of high and mid-level clouds with sunshine, mild temperatures, and some wind today. Northwest winds 15 to 30. Highs near 70, lows tonight mid to upper 30s, still breezy. Winds will ease up, slightly cooler, but sunny, pleasant, mid-60s on Thursday. Then, wow, warming up. 75 to 80 on Friday, 70 Saturday. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
We're going to get back to the discussion in just a second. Jeff and Bill Show live, 710 KNUS. But I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about Wound Care Associates of Colorado, because they are helping someone in my life. And want to make sure that if someone in your life has a slow healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore, that you have got the right team working for them to help the people that you care about. Here's the deal. Ignoring the problem doesn't fix the problem. You're probably not one of the people that takes the electrical tape and puts it over the check engine light on the car dashboard. If you are, well, this probably isn't going to help you out at all. But if you aren't, if you're the kind of person that wants to fix the problem, if someone in your life has a slow healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore, you need to talk to my friends at Wound Care Associates of Colorado. They're doing it better and differently than anybody else in the state. Let me explain why. First of all, improved healing outcomes. They promote faster healing. They understand that the torn skin and tissue is the perfect place for dirt, germs, and bacteria to get access to your body. Keeping that skin and tissue open doesn't help you out at all. Heal that as soon as possible, but there's so many wound treatment facilities out there that don't do that. They use the word of maintain the wound. No, we do not need to maintain this thing open. We need to maintain the healing and get this thing closed up. You feel me? That's the priority of Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Also, they do it differently because they come to you. Yes, you're getting that old school house call service with Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Perhaps someone in your life, someone in your social circle or a loved one, maybe it's mom or dad or an aunt and uncle that are in an assisted living facility. They're in a retirement home. It's difficult to get them to their doctor's appointment. Sometimes you're the family Uber. Sometimes they use the shuttle at the facility. Either way, it's not necessarily convenient, nor is it the best use of your time. With Wound Care Associates of Colorado, they come to you. And that includes your loved ones in those retirement communities and assisted living centers. They go in and treat your loved ones where they are. What could be better? Seriously. There's nobody else doing it this way in Colorado, and that's why they are the best. Contact my friends at Wound Care Associates of Colorado. When their wound-certified nurse practitioner comes and meets you or your family member, she sets up a customized treatment plan for the wound. It's all based on what happened, what's happening, and the better healing outcomes. That's it. It couldn't be easier. Contact them at coloradowound.com. coloradowound.com. I feel so strongly about this that when my daughter had an open wound that wasn't healing after a recent surgery, I contacted Wound Care Associates of Colorado. As soon as the surgeon on the second look at the wound said, well, we can maintain, as soon as the word maintain came out of his pie hole, I'm like, no, we're done here. We're done here, sir. I respect everything that you did inside that surgery room, but we're not maintaining this. I'm not keeping my daughter's skin and tissue open because I've seen the negative impacts of when that dirt, germs, and bacteria can get access to it. I ain't messing around. You shouldn't either. So I contacted Wound Care Associates of Colorado just like you did. I didn't call the special number. I know Jennifer Walker. I could have called her behind the scenes. I didn't. I went right to coloradowound.com. coloradowound.com, just like you can today, and set up an appointment. I wanted to make sure that the people that I'm working with that I recommend to you work just as well as I promise. They have nailing this out of the park with my daughter. Her wound has taken so many steps forward in just the last 10 to 14 days since we've seen them versus the previous month and a half. It is remarkable. Don't mess around. Someone in your life has a chronic sore, an open wound, a pressure sore, a diabetic ulcer, something like that. Get the best. Contact the best team available to take care of your family. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Contact them at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. I trust them. You can too. They're the best going today in the state. Don't mess around. coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. Back to you, Jeff.
That's great to hear, Bill. So I saw this headline, Fox coming out saying Trump administration's pulling funding from Maine for allowing men identifying as women to be jailed with females. No longer. We will pull your funding. We will protect women in prison, says U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi. She announced Wednesday that the Trump administration has pulled all non-essential funding from Maine's Department of Corrections after allowing a 6'1", 245-pound man who identifies as a woman to be housed in prison for women. Bondi spoke to Fox and mentioned and said we can determine where a lot of this federal funding goes. What's happening in Maine is they're not abiding by what President Trump said. They're allowing men in women's sports. And in the case right now, what we did last night, some breaking news, she said, we pulled all non-essential funding from the Department of Corrections in Maine because they were allowing a man in a women's prison, a giant 6'1", 245-pound guy who has committed a double murder with a knife, stabbed his parents to death and the family dog, and he identifies as a woman. So they were letting him to be housed in a female prison. No longer. We will pull your funding. We will protect women in prison. We will protect women in sports. We will protect women throughout the country. No more of that. All right. So, Bill, in light of that, I'm thinking, gosh, considering the bill that's moving its way through Colorado, is Colorado going to lose non-essential funding from the Trump administration? And how far do you think Colorado Democrats should go on this? Is it so important to them? Men competing in women's sports, men being put in women's prisons, threatening businesses that misgender somebody with Colorado civil rights action, claiming that a parent that misgenders a child should be brought up on child abuse charges. All of that, is it that important for Democrats to commit to transgenderism that they would be willing to sacrifice dollars from the federal government? Bill, your thoughts?
I'm not certain. I'm not certain that. Again, I understand the ideological bend and why the Trump administration is doing this, but I'm not certain that they've made their case per se. And I'm not certain that, and I understand the idea of you're talking about if parents aren't supporting their kids' gender transition, that you said they'll bring up on child abuse charges. I don't remember that it was in a custody battle that would be taken into consideration. That's it. I didn't hear anything about them being brought up on child abuse charges. And maybe I missed that inside of the legal language in the bill, and that's fair, but I haven't heard that. So I'm not necessarily certain that that's part of the discussion. But what I would be curious about with this particular inmate, and again, it's based on a case of one particular inmate. What's the discipline record of this particular inmate? Have there been physical altercations? Have there been intimidation? Have they had issues with this particular inmate inside the prison being housed with
parents to death and the family dog?
But that would be prior to being an inmate, and how the inmate behaves. I understand, but no. It is important as to how the inmate behaves inside the prison as far as how we deal with them. There are people that have committed atrocious crimes that then become a model citizen inside of prison, some of which actually become better people outside of it afterwards. But again, I'm not going to assume either one on this particular incident. I want to know what the individual's behavior was like inside of the prison, and then I would make a determination as to whether or not they should be housed in a particular population. And that even would go into the idea of, do you have them on restricted privileges? Do you have them in general population? Or do you have them in solitary? And that holds true for individuals that are either in female or male prisons. Either one.
But I mean, the question, the real question I have, though, is how important is this? The president has some discretion on where this federal funding goes, and he's been elected. Yeah. And he can go, we're not sending it to states that engage in this type of stuff, whether it's men and women's sports, men and women's prisons, or the transgender bill that's going through. All right, should the state just roll over and go, it's not a hill worth dying on? Or all the way, cut the funding, we'll see you in court, and you know what? Yeah, we might not get some funding for some of the other projects, but this is so important to us, we're going to go all the way on it. What do you think?
I don't know. It depends. It depends on what type of a case they think they have, because for me, I would think that if you can demonstrate that this particular individual has been a good prisoner, and what I'm talking about, that is no disciplinary issues. And I'm talking even to the point of, arguments, anything physical at all with any of the rest of the prisoners. If the person has been behaving as a model prisoner, I think it's much harder for the government to make the case that this individual can't be housed in this population. If this person isn't causing an issue inside the population, it's harder. And that would include, honestly, testimony and verification of other women inside the prison that may or may not feel uncomfortable with that person being there. And it is fair for some of the other female prisoners.
You think the facts of the case really determine whether or not Maine could be successful in this?
Yes, because and here's the reason why. I am, and we're going to go back to some of the things we talked about earlier, I am going to judge this on an individual basis. I am familiar of people that are both, that you would assume, I really dislike using some of the terminology, but the idea of, I know people that are transgender that are both absolutely wonderful model citizens and human beings, and have been exposed to transgender people that are absolute asshats and view this as some sort of grand cause that they have to go out and fight every wrong every day. And if you even look at them wrong, they're going to accuse you of stuff. And it's awful. But that happens on the other side as well.
The Trump administration is not going to look at this on an individual basis.
I know,
They're going to go blanket. Yep. Okay? So I'm going to go back to my question.
Yeah.
Is it worth fighting? Should Maine go, you know what, some of this funding, which is probably important to some of the other stuff, we're willing to risk it because we believe so much in this transgender stuff, we're going to drive it all the way forward.
Yes, if the individual is a model citizen and model prisoner,
but I mean,
yes, I would push it.
The Trump administration doesn't care.
I know.
Right, and this is about blanket policy.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the point.
So you say go all the way, even if it means we lose funding. Again, it's worth fighting on this.
If the individual is a model prisoner. I'm not just, and it gets to the idea is because to me, this is an individual case-by-case basis. Just like when I'm going to decide any punishment inside of courts.
I know for you it
individual.
Is, but for Trump it's not.
I know.
So they're going to go blanket policy. So
and that's stupid.
You're the governor.
It's stupid and it's wrong and dumb.
So
and
you would fight it.
Yes, I would.
All the way on this one.
Yes, because if I can demonstrate that this is a blanket policy that doesn't actually take into account individual behavior, then I can probably win in court and I'll get the money anyway. I'll get the money because if I think my case is strong enough that what they are doing
you think that could be a constitutional challenge? Is that the individual, not the policy itself?
I mean, what I'm not understanding.
You think that's enough to get federal dollars back into your state?
Yeah, it could be.
Is that an individual trans member of the jail was not necessarily violent?
It could be. It could be that the rules and stuff that they set out aren't necessarily following the procedures and everything else that are required. Because again, I'm not certain how much control in part the executive has over some of this funding, given that some of the funding is doled out by Congress. So Congress should be the ones that would be able to claw it back, not necessarily the executive branch. The executive branch might be able to pause some stuff for a while, but they don't have the ability in many cases to cancel contracts or cancel funding. Yeah, and so that's kind of the issue. So that's where I would go with this, is I would look at the idea is, does the executive have the purview over this funding, and does it make any sense? Because just because the executive, and for whatever that means, decides this is what we're going to do. I mean, I would say that if it was the Biden administration and they decide, well, if I don't think that these states are doing enough for green energy or have enough EVs on the road, then I'm going to pull funding. That's just dumb. Same thing. I'm seeing these big, giant blanket policies being stupid because the nuance is when we're dealing with individuals. So, yeah, I think I would.
This, to me, demonstrates just how committed progressives are to social issues. Oftentimes, you'll get the critique, the Republicans, they make the issue, it's too focused on social issues. I think that progressives, the social issues are king for them. You see it on abortion issues. You see it on this, where they're willing to go to the mat. They're willing to go and lose state funding if it means that men have to be able to participate in women's sports. I mean, that is just wild to me that you would be willing to sacrifice funding for your other projects for that. You're willing to go fight. You won't even give a little bit on what seems like common sense to be. It just demonstrates how passionately committed the left is to some of these social issues like transgenderism. All right, we'll get to your phone calls. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. If Jared Polis, and I think Colorado's going to be next, are you ready to watch funding dry up in particular areas so that Jared Polis can protect men competing in women's sports? Love to hear from you. I want to talk to you about advanced hair restoration. Look, for many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity's lost altogether. Well, I've got good news. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have. But what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Paul's, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You just decide how much and how thick and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR, or visit advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're so close to Friday night, Bill.
So close. I need a Friday this week.
You even had a Tuesday off.
Yeah, I know, but that's because I stretched myself on Monday. And you know how it is when we get into the older years, and all the audience will appreciate this. When the hair starts going away and starts graying, and the metabolism's not quite as fast, and the skin's a little bit wrinkly, getting up after those late nights, that lingers for a couple of days. Changing your sleep behavior and staying out hours and hours past what you normally do, that hurts for a few days. It takes you a couple of days to recover, which is ridiculous. Which, again, one of the biggest lies they tell us when we're growing up is the idea of the hangovers. Because the hangovers get progressively worse the older you get, which is not fair. The time in which, when we're young and we can rally, we can do this stuff, that's when hangovers should really hurt. We should have a benefit later in life because we've gone through so much. Who the hell else needs a really stiff whiskey after the end of work than the old dude that's been grinding his hump for years?
Yes.
We deserve no hangover. We've earned it. But no, it's not how it works.
Well,
Sucks.
I found this interesting, Bill. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
A federal judge on Tuesday sided with the Associated Press in a lawsuit against the White House declaring that under the First Amendment, the government cannot bar journalists from certain government events because of their viewpoints. It's a big victory for the Associated Press, and this comes from a Trump-appointed judge, which is really interesting. The court simply holds that under the First Amendment, if the government opens its doors to some journalists, be it to the Oval Office, the East Room, or elsewhere, it cannot then shut those doors to other journalists because of their viewpoints. The Constitution requires no less. He writes, so can we just show up to the White House and be like, let us in? We're with the media. We're journalistic-ish. Not really, but
yeah,
I mean, it seems like it's the leaders get to kind of pick and choose who's in that place. I guess maybe if it's solely based upon their opinions, you can't let them in. But I mean, it's not just open to anybody. So that's why I don't understand. I'm confused.
Yeah, the issue is the artificial necessarily restriction that because we don't like what you're doing, that then we are going to refuse, necessarily your access to be able to report on the president. And that's kind of the issue, is there's somewhat of free speech, that's rolled into that. And especially, and the AP helps because the Associated Press has such a large reach and provides news gathering for a wide variety of institutions. And in fact, many institutions that are considered both conservative and liberal run AP stories on the regular.
Yeah,
so it's not like they're banning Breitbart or they're banning Mother Jones. It's not the same thing. And Breitbart's probably not. Breitbart's much more concerned. It's closer to the center than Mother Jones is on the left.
That's still a freedom of the press issue. If it's like, well, you're not that important, you're not that big, then we can leave you out. That's still a freedom of the press issue because you're being restricted on reporting based upon audience size.
Oh, in part, yeah, that's kind of the determinations being made. But more than that, this is just an arbitrary rule that because we don't like the term that you're using, we're not going to allow you to report on it. I mean, the justification for it is just
Why won't
stupid.
the Associated... You speaking of stupid, why won't the Associated Press just go with it? President made a change, declared a change, signed an executive order.
Yeah.
So it seems like partisan hackery to not go along with it.
Isn't it? But wouldn't it be partisan just to change the name? I mean, wasn't that partisan to begin with?
The President of the United States made this decision.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't the Associated Press go along with it? Why do you know the reason for not?
My guess is because the Associated Press has global reach. And the globe doesn't necessarily what President Trump calls the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America doesn't matter in Germany, doesn't matter in France, and doesn't mean a lick of beans in England. Doesn't matter at all.
When we rename stuff like Mount Blue Sky or whatever it is here in Colorado, that's the Associated Press can just be like Mount Evans.
That's different.
How?
Because one is an international body of water. The other is something that exists inside the continental borders of the United States. They're different things. They're totally different. We can't rename the Pacific Ocean the Trump Ocean. Can't do that. There are other countries involved.
Randomly rename stuff in our state all the time.
In our state.
Yeah,
You're proving my point.
and Trump did it It's part of our country. It's on the boundaries of our country.
It's not part of our country.
The Gulf of America is not part of our country?
Not contiguous, not internally, because what you talked about is we
so
name
we have
stuff
to totally own
inside.
it. We have to totally own it in order to name it.
Internationally, yeah, probably. Yes. That
Well,
would probably
then
would have
who owns the rights to Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico? If not us.
I don't know if anybody owns the rights per se, but but the name has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. But the idea is that just one country can decide, okay, so let's just decide that Mexico decides to change the name of the Gulf of America. Would you go, well, they did it. Okay, we got to call it that now. Would you say, yes, we got to do whatever
If the media in
said?
Mexico? If the media in Mexico
I'm just saying
did
the president.
that,
I'm just
sure.
saying the president of Mexico just says, now it's called this. So if Trump is named at the Gulf of America, and the president of Mexico comes out and says, nope, it's now the Gulf of Che Guevara. Would you say, well, it's now the Gulf of Che Guevara because she said so?
I would probably expect the media in Mexico to go around with that and,
But what about
say it.
what about a
Why
media
not?
outlet that has global reach?
Where are they housed? Where's the Associated Press housed?
No, global reach. If they
I don't care
provide
if they have
news
global
coverage,
reach,
well,
but
that
where are
matters.
they housed?
That matters. No, that it does
I
matter.
provide global reach. I get like random people from the Philippines watch my videos.
Not the same way because you don't hold distribution contracts with people in the Philippines, as the AP does. And that's part of it. The AP wire.
That's not part
it's
of
a wire
it. This
service.
is all just
No.
partisan hackery.
No,
they
it's
don't like
because-
President Trump,
No.
and they're not going to abide by it. It's a
No.
way to thumb it right back at him.
No, not at all. And here's the idea: is if the Trump administration is so childish and thin-skinned that not using Gulf of America is that big of a deal over all of the news and all of the stories because they don't use that set of nouns. That's what you're
indicative.
pissed
It's
over?
indicative of them
That's what
being
you're ticked over?
progressive
That's it?
leftist hacks.
No, the issue is that when they run a story in Germany, Gulf of America doesn't mean a damn bit of thing to them because it's still the Gulf of Mexico. And guess what? On German maps,
Why does it still have to be the Gulf of Mexico?
Because, one, we don't own it. It's not ours. And
Who
we
does?
I don't think anybody does
Right,
internationally.
so why we might as well rename it.
No, but why does
Come
anybody
on,
else?
be
Hang
a
on.
patriot,
Wait,
Bill.
it's not about being a patriot.
Yes,
That's just
it
stupid.
is.
No.
It's Gulf
Why?
of America.
No, it's not. Why do we get to choose the name? Just because we decide to? Why don't we just change the name of Hong Kong to something else too? Why don't we change the name of Cuba? That's pretty damn close. I mean, we can't just go around because we want to
Why
and
not?
change name of things.
We're Americans.
Because we're
Be patriotic, Bill.
yeah. I'll just let that hang there for a second.
Freedom fries. Remember
just let
freedom
that-
fries? Remember when we did that to France?
That
they
was
shaped
phenomenally
up.
stupid.
They shaped up.
That was ridiculously stupid. That was phenomenal. Yeah. The whole idea of that's just dumb. The whole idea, we're going to rename these things for this stuff. That's just it's
Bill,
stupid.
you're fine with us renaming Mount Blue Sky, Mount Evans, Mount Blue Sky, whatever
Internal
it is.
versus
all right?
external.
Because we own it entirely.
Internal versus
And then
external.
when I ask you who owns the Gulf of Mexico, you're like, well, it's a shared resource, so we
Yeah.
shouldn't just
Yeah.
claim the name of it. Is
No.
that right?
Yeah. Can we go and rename mountains in California as Coloradans? Can we just decide to call their mountains something else? Can we go to Florida and tell them their cities are different names? I don't like the idea of Orlando. Orlando's a stupid name. Let's call it Steve. That's now the city of Steve.
But with regards
do
to
that?
the president,
But
he
can we
has
do that?
some influence over the Gulf of Mexico.
But why
it's
can't-
right there. It's on our border.
Why can't the governor rename something in Nebraska?
Because we have
it's on our border.
We have no influence.
They're on the Nebraska. Why can't we? But he's the governor. Can't he name stuff that's
Does he
outside
have
of our
some
state?
influence on it?
No. He just wants to. Because that's all Trump wants to do. He just wants to. So, okay, good. It's a shared border, shared resources, but okay, we'll just say
I
it.
think you're proving my point with the Associated
No, I'm
Press
not.
here. For you, it's just partisanship. You just don't
No.
like Trump, and so you're like, I'm not going to go along with this in an effort to just be anti-Trump.
No, Donald Trump does not have the ability to rename an international body of water and have everybody else recognize it. If he wants to call it something here himself, go right ahead. But do not expect everybody else around the planet to follow suit because it is an international body of water. You want to name something internal inside the contiguous U.S. states or in Alaska? Go right ahead. He's doing just fine. I'm not arguing with him about McKinley and Denali. I'm not arguing about that at all. I would like to see it be Denali because that's what it had been called for hundreds of years, but that's okay. I'll go with McKinley. He wants to call it McKinley. I'll call it McKinley tomorrow. But that is inside the boundaries of the United States. The Gulf of Mexico does not apply. And the AP has a larger global reach, and that's how they write their stories. And that's okay. And the idea that Donald Trump and the administration get so upset over whether or not they're using this series of nouns is childish and immature.
As we've seen in this conversation, it's purely just opposition to Trump.
It's not at all.
And somebody pointed out,
is the
AP winning this case clearly shows the bias of the Biden and Obama administration rejecting hundreds of right-leaning news media outlets and restricting their freedom of the press.
It's not necessarily the same because the restriction was done for different reasons. This is about a series of nouns. And again, is the AP... No, is the AP... Hang on, wait. Is the AP disputing Mount McKinley? Have they disputed that? Nope, not at all. Have they disputed any other of the name changes? Nope, not at all. Have they referred to the military bases that have been renamed by the right ones? Yep, absolutely. That is inside the contiguous U.S. states. They have honored that. That's okay. We don't get to just randomly name international bodies of water.
They're just globalists.
No, we just don't get to rename international bodies of water. That's it.
Phone lines are open.
Why don't we just instead we call the Atlantic Ocean the Muskian Ocean? Why don't we do that? We have the Trumpian Ocean on one side and the Muskian Ocean on the other side.
Brilliant idea.
Why don't we do that?
Let's do it.
Who cares?
Because who's Atlantic and who's Pacific
I know,
anyways? Why were they named
America
that to
should just
begin
be
with?
able to decide whatever anything's named. In fact, I don't
now
like
you're
Germany.
getting it, Bill.
I think we should talk. Germany should now be sausage
We
land.
are the kings of the world.
That's exactly
We
my
get to
point.
do it.
Thank you.
Thank
exactly
you.
my point. This is fun.
Right. Let's talk alarm detection systems. Reliability isn't optional when business security is on the line. It's essential. Businesses trust alarm detection systems for the highest level of service and expertise. Think about the time you could be saving using one source for cameras, key card access, fire and intrusion systems. ADS offers all this. Listen to this. Expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same day or next day service upon request because downtime isn't an option, dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms, over 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time. Trusted by small and large businesses, including many Colorado schools, their security experts will review your system for free. Go to adsalarm.com and schedule an appointment today. adsalarm.com, alarm detection systems, the first choice of Front Range and Colorado businesses, adsalarm.com. All right, we'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, it's been a great show as the Colorado legislature debates the $43 billion budget we're all going to pay for. We talked with House Minority Leader Rose Pugliese about what Republicans can do, how they're fighting, what the Democrats are advancing. We're so close to the end of the legislative session. You get to that day and you just know nobody's down in a building making your life worse. The Colorado State Capitol. It comes in early May. But until then, we continue to get updates. So if you missed that, if you missed our conversation on tariffs, lots of calls on that. Joe supporting what the president's doing. Tony debating what the president's doing.
That was
and
cool.
We got both those calls. So
that was
thank
cool.
you.
And back to back and not even set up or anything. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And a huge shout out to the audience because I love the fact that regardless of political ideology and affiliation, that many of you feel like you found a home here. Because, yeah, we're not going to always, as you heard this morning, march in one direction. We're going to try to look at it differently between the two of us and give you something much, much, much more unique than the vast majority of talk outlets across not only Colorado, but across the country. And sure do appreciate each and every one of you, regardless of political affiliation, being willing to get into the pool and splash around with us for a while. It means so much to us.
And you can come hang out with us live in person next Wednesday at IHOP. We're going to do a live broadcast from the IHOP in Lakewood, 6 to 10 a.m. Special breakfast, only $7.10. All that next Wednesday as well. Thank you to everybody. If you missed any part of the show, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Later. This is KNUS.